Mary Kephart is suing the father of her child, William Malone, for the return of her clothes, a loan to pay court fines, and for half the cost of a Las Vegas vacation.
All rise. Yeah, it's case number 394 on the calendar in the matter of Kephart versus Malone.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Why don't you folks have a seat?
Ms. Kephart, we're going to take care of some easy stuff first before we get into the nitty-gritty of the alleged loan that you made to this former boyfriend of yours. Am I correct that you have a child together?
Yes.
How old is your child?
2.
How long have you lived together?
About 1.5 years.
First, the easy part is that you broke up, and when he left, he took a whole bunch of your clothes.
Yes.
And Mr. Malone says that he did take your clothes.
Correct.
But he took your clothes because he had bought them for you shortly before you separated, and so he took them, right?
Correct.
You can't do that.
He didn't. Can I?
Shh. You can't do that. Do you understand? That's a gift. I mean, unless you were cross-dressing, sir, in your closet, and you were wearing the clothes and you bought them for yourself. You're not going to tell me that, Mr. Malone, are you? In front of this person, you're not going to tell me that. Or 10 million people, you're not going to tell me that. So you bought the clothes for her.
You didn't even pay for them, though.
Shh.
I'm sorry.
Listen. Don't aggravate me. It's very close to lunch.
She didn't even want to wear them, though. I mean, we went to Vegas.
I don't care if she wanted to pour bleach on them, or if she wanted to give them away, or if she wanted to let her dog walk around with them. They're her clothes. You can't take her clothes. Do you understand?
Even if I pay for them?
He didn't even pay for them. I'm sorry, but...
I'm going to say goodbye to you.
Okay, I'm sorry.
You don't want me to say goodbye right yet, do you?
I'm sorry. No.
She doesn't have to pay for them. They're a gift. Do you understand?
Yes. Yes, I do.
What did you do with the clothes?
I gave some of them away, and I sold some of them.
Fine. And how much did the clothes cost?
$7.97 and 15 cents.
So that's so far what you owe her, Mr. Malone. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Now let's deal with the loans. When did you start to live together?
March 06.
And when was the first loan?
September this year.
So you were in your relationship for a
The
long
end of it.
time. You were living together as a couple, not married.
Right, and he just, yeah.
Are you married?
No.
You have other children?
Yes.
How many?
4 others.
4 others. What do you do for a living?
Construction.
You must be very, very busy with your construction business. Do you
Yes.
pay child support for your other children?
Yes, I do.
How much?
$83.16 a week.
$83.67 a week? For how many children? Shh! For how many children?
3 of them are actually mine. The 4th one I just claim as my own.
So you pay $83 a week for 3 children.
Yes.
And how much do you pay for this child?
None.
Why?
We haven't had a court order yet set.
Does that mean that your child is on hiatus from eating?
No. No, it doesn't. We haven't been talking much since this all
Well, that's
happened.
what we're here for. We're talking. Right?
Right.
Good. So let me first figure out, Mr. Malone, just so that you understand what the ground rules are. $83 divided by 3 equals $27 a week for each of your 3 children.
Correct.
We're going to divide that by 7, because there are 7 days in a week,
Okay.
equals $3.95 a day. Where'd you get all the bling?
Actually, from her.
Pawn it. Send it to your children.
I don't get to see him much. I mean, I was...
I don't care whether you see them. You were there when they were made, weren't you?
True.
They didn't ask to be made, and they don't ask to live poor. Who was this person?
This is my father.
Oh, he should be thrilled about you. Mr. Malone, how long you married to his mother?
4 years.
Stand up. How many children did you have, Mr. Malone?
2. That's all I have.
With his mother?
No, just him.
Did you support him when he was growing up?
Yes, I did.
How much did you send for his support, Mr. Malone?
Oh, my name's Mr. Bash.
Mr. what?
Bash.
Bash.
Yes.
So hard to keep track of these modern relationships. Whose last name is Malone?
My mother's.
Were you ever legally declared his father?
No.
It's not an answer.
No. She had did something with the birth certificate in order for me not to try to get custody of my son.
And did she?
Yes.
Oh, sit down. It's like an epic. Sit. Oh. Listen, is this your mother?
Yes.
You know what she does when she looks at you? She says, What happened to my gorgeous daughter? Where did her mind go? What was she thinking? What was she thinking? How many children do you have?
3.
How old are they?
13, 10, and 2.
And the 13 and 10-year-old live with you?
Yes.
Does their father support them?
Yes.
Does he see them?
Yes.
One father?
Yes.
When was the first loan that you made to him, and from what money?
The first loan was September 27th. Actually, they were all paid $1,000.20.
For what?
His DUI.
Who had a DUI? I'm listening.
Well, I asked her initially to pay for it before she came to any money at all, and she said she wouldn't.
Why did you ask her to pay for it?
Because I didn't have the money.
Why don't you go to your father? He hasn't paid for you since you were born. Why'd you bring him here? Why'd you schlep him here for today? Instead of going to a woman who's got 2 children that she's taking care of, why don't you go to your father? Go to your mother.
He was a sweet talker.
Just as...
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're getting very close to the door, Miss Kephart.
Sorry.
Very close to the door.
Well, he wouldn't pay for it. I'm assuming, because I've asked him before, because I've had fines before, and he wouldn't pay for them. So
You got fines before for what?
for driving, well, with no license, suspended.
Your fines were $1,020?
Right.
Who do you think's supposed to pay for those?
Well, she offered.
No. Who do you think is supposed to pay for those? You know what the fine is for?
For DUI.
Fine is like a punishment. Instead of putting you miscreants in jail for everything, because we don't have enough jails, if I were running the nut house, we would just build more jails. But because we don't have enough jails, we came up with this system of imposing fines as a form of punishment. If you do something wrong, you park where you're not supposed to park, you speed, you don't stop at a stop sign, you get punished. And your punishment is a fine. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Go.
She pays my fines for me. She doesn't have to drive me around anymore because now I can get my license. It's easier on her. The convenience for her is she gets it, you know.
You're an idiot.
And later today,
She doesn't have to prove anything. You have to prove it, sir.
Okay, you're right.
What do you mean I'm right? Of course I'm right. That's why people adore me, because I'm right.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Carrie Kephart says the father of her child, William Malone, owes for the value of her clothes that he won't return, an unpaid loan, and for his share of a trip to Las Vegas.
Now, it's not a punishment for you if somebody else does your punishment. I mean, can you imagine a system that we would have, Mr. Malone? If you got 30 days in jail, which was your punishment for DUI, and you said, you know what? I really don't want to do this 30 days myself. I'm going to get Officer Byrd to do the 30 days for me. I'm going to ask him a favor and say, you know, I really don't want to do it. I can't afford to do it myself. You know, I have to be out. I have things to do. So why don't you do me a favor? Go and do my jail time for me. Do you think we allow that in this country?
No.
You know why we don't allow it? Because if you do the crime, you're supposed to pay your own fines. You get it?
Yes, but
This is a yes, but.
But she
This
did
is a
it.
yes, but he doesn't know how close he's coming to giving me that bling. Go.
Well, if she pays my fines for me, she doesn't have to drive me around anymore because now I can get my license. It's easier on her. The convenience for her is she gets it, you know, she gets.
You're an idiot. What else does he owe you for?
I took him on a Vegas trip,
That's your problem.
but you know what? Can I tell
No, no, no. Listen, when you went to Vegas with him, did you share a room?
Yes.
Share a bed?
Yes.
Did you have a good time? Was it before or after you paid the fines for him?
It was after. I was going to take my mom, but he offered to pay the whole
She
thing.
wasn't as cuddly. Your mom wasn't as cuddly, probably a lot smarter, but not as much fun. Vegas trip you take care of yourself. You owe her $1,817, Mr. Malone.
There was a fine I paid of his for $533.
No, did she pay a fine for you also?
There was another fine across the river.
Another fine?
Yes.
How much?
$503.34 and $360.
What was $360?
This had something to do with the DUI. And the 50334 had something to do with something with him and his ex.
What was that all about, sir?
Me and my ex got into a domestic.
Me and my ex. And I assume you mean my ex-girlfriend.
Ex-girlfriend.
And myself.
Right.
Got into an altercation.
Correct.
That resulted in a fine for me for domestic violence.
Right.
You see? Shorthand.
Yeah. It's the way of the world.
Now, that fine, sir, is a punishment. She didn't hit your ex-girlfriend. Mr. Bash! Did you hit his ex-girlfriend?
No, ma'am.
Who hit his ex-girlfriend?
Apparently it was my son.
And who do you think ought to pay his fine?
Well, he should pay it.
And what was the other one?
$360.
What was that for?
When I paid the DUI, they said this was an additional fee with it. It was for $360. I don't know what.
You know what that's for, sir?
I'm assuming it would be for my lawyer. I had a court-appointed lawyer.
Why did you have a court-appointed lawyer? You're in construction.
I wasn't making enough money.
How much do you earn?
About $10 an hour.
What kind of construction do you do?
I make electrical panels.
Oh, well, you should get a job outside doing real construction work. It pays a lot better. And you have big expenses, sir. Tell her she has enough children. Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $2,670. Thank you, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm happy with the decision to finally prove what kind of a guy this guy is.
Maybe I shouldn't take advantage so much.
Stay away from guys like that.
I wish I didn't have to go to court for all this and put on my laundry on the street, but, you know, hey, she got her money. She deserved it.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Johnson versus Davis, step forward.
18-year-old Janelle Johnson is suing her ex-boyfriend, 25-year-old Willie Davis, for the cost of earrings he purchased on her behalf. Janelle says Willie used her debit card to buy the gift.
Miss Johnson, according to your complaint, the defendant was a friend of yours, and it is your claim that he bought some jewelry for you, and it was a gift, but he put it on your credit card.
It was in my name. I wanted to establish credit, so I had him put it in my name.
Put the charge in your name. Was it a charge from a store, or was it a credit card?
It was his debit card.
And he didn't pay you for it. So
He paid the first fee when you go in the store. After that, he didn't pay anymore.
The defendant acknowledges that,
Yes, Your Honor.
right?
Yes.
He was
Your
supposed to pay for the jewelry,
Honor. Your Honor, yes.
that he only made one payment.
Yes.
He doesn't say why he didn't make the rest of the payments, but says that you owe him some money that he loaned you for something, rent and some damage you did to his car. When did you buy this jewelry?
It was purchased sometime in June.
Tell me about how it got purchased. You were shopping with him?
He was going to Germany, I believe, he's in the military, and I wanted to establish some kind of credit because we went to purchase a phone together, and I found out I had no credit. So,
were you dating him, or?
Yeah, that's the thing. We dated maybe 4 days before he actually purchased the earrings. So when I went to the jewelry store, and the only reason why I wanted in my name was for credit, but the only one condition that it would be taken out of his bank account every month.
Just a second. He acknowledges that he owes you for the jewelry.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Why didn't you pay her?
Because, Your Honor, I lent her money for her rent. And as well, okay, go ahead, Your Honor.
Just a minute. So that's what you're claiming?
Yes.
You're claiming that you didn't pay the debts that you owe because you loaned her money for rent.
What? Actually, what happened is she backed my car up into another person's car, and she cracked my bumper. On my way to Mexico, my bumper flew off because of what she did. So I call her, and I tell her, I said, you know, you're going to have to pay. I want my money back from the rent, as well as I want partial of what happened to my truck. And she lost it. She said she's not paying for nothing. She's going to get her money one way or another.
Well, sir, there is a paucity of evidence there on your side, sir, which means that you have no evidence, unless you're
right, Your
hiding
Honor.
it someplace
No,
in your
I'm
pocket.
not hiding it. I don't have any
like
evidence.
a picture of the car, like a bill to fix the bumper of the car. Where is all that?
I don't have it, Your Honor. But maybe Janelle, she'll tell the truth.
She doesn't have to prove anything. You have to prove it, sir.
Okay, you're right.
Of course. What do you mean I'm right? Of course I'm right. That's why people come here. That's why
Okay.
people adore me, because I'm right. Do you ever watch my courtroom?
No, Your Honor.
Then it was a big mistake for you to come here.
Okay.
Big. Because there are a lot of people that watch this courtroom every day.
Okay.
And a lot of people are going to see you making a fool out of yourself. How did you pay her rent, in check or cash?
I used the check, Your Honor.
Show me the check.
I don't have proof of it.
Why not?
Well, Your Honor, timing. I just had bad timing.
You had bad timing. What does
Yes.
that mean, Mr.
Because
Davis?
I work as well, Your Honor. I couldn't find time, you know.
To what?
To go and get proof.
You don't have to go anywhere, sir. You just bring your checkbook. And you go to the car place that fixed your car and you say, can I have a receipt? Because I can't find mine. Duh.
Okay.
All right, how much does he owe you on the ring?
It's $1,044.85 plus $74.24, which comes to $1,119.09. And then he paid $230 on his debit card, so $889.09.
Okay, you have any finance charges now?
Yes, I have late fees, total of $87.77. That's not counting the last month. I just paid $330 on the bill 2 weeks ago. That's not counting that, but $30 the subpoena, which I have because he failed to, I guess, take it, and then $50 of the cost to remove from collections, because this is when on my credit, affected my credit. Because it's on my credit.
Then you shouldn't have done it. Do you understand? You didn't need the earrings that badly.
It wasn't, Your Honor. He said he was going to get the earrings for me anyway, and I wanted them in my name so I could get credit. That's how it even came to he got them.
You knew him for 4 days.
No, I didn't. I knew him for 3 years, Your Honor. He's my
You
best.
were dating him for 4 days.
But I've known him longer than that. It doesn't matter how long I've dated him.
Mr. Davis, you owe $1,000. And if you wanted to bring a countersuit, which you filed, you should have been smart enough to bring some proof.
Well, Your Honor, I was working on it, but like I said, I work as well, so it was, it was hard for me
You're a
to
hustler.
do. No, I'm
That's being a hustler. That's trying to hustle me.
I'm trying to
You know how
hustle.
many cases I've done in the 12 years that I've been in this court? Tens of thousands. Do you know that nobody has ever said to me, well, Your Honor, you know, I was real busy. You know, and I didn't have time because I have a job, so I couldn't get proof.
Nah.
Nobody has ever said that to me, sir. They've given me all kinds of, you know, the dog ate my checkbook, right? The snake swallowed the pictures. But I never heard, I was too busy, I couldn't get anything. Nothing. My
I didn't wanna lie
checkbook,
to
my
you, Your
checkbook,
Honor.
my...
I didn't want to lie, so I that's the truth.
It's not the truth.
Okay.
It's not the truth. Where's the car?
It's back in my place.
Where's the car? Does it have a bumper on the back?
Nope. It's
If
missing.
it doesn't have a bumper on the back, sir, do you have a cell phone?
I do, but it doesn't have a camera on it, Your Honor.
It doesn't need a camera, sir. You see where I was going? All you have to do is spend $5 and go buy a disposable camera.
You're right, Your Honor.
How long did it take you to put that outfit together today for television? Right? To put the
not very
earrings
long.
in. How long? That amount of time when you go down to the local drugstore and you buy a camera for $5, you take a picture of the back of your car without a bumper. That's evidence. Then you wouldn't come here looking like a fool.
You're right, Your
Judgment to the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Margaret Lagunas is suing her former best friend, April Wilson, for the unpaid balance on a Ford Expedition. April claims Margaret did not live up to her part of the agreement, so she's not paying.
Order. All rise.
Now, it's case number 374 on the calendar in the matter of Lagunas versus Wilson. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Ms. Lagunas, you sold a car to the defendant,
Yes, April Wilson.
and it is your claim that you failed to make all of the payments on the car?
Yes. She,
Miss, I didn't ask you a question.
Okay.
Miss Wilson, is the car in your name?
No.
In whose name is the car?
Maggie's.
Miss Lagunas,
Yes.
where is the car located?
I have it parked at a friend's house
Where is my question.
in Hammond,
Give me the address.
Michigan Avenue.
And what's the friend's name?
Amy
Amy what?
Zacharias.
How long has the car been there?
Since September.
What is it doing there since September?
Hiding it.
I'm
hiding.
not speaking to you.
I'm hiding it.
You're not hiding it anymore. What's
Right.
Miss Zacharias' phone number?
8122.
Have you driven the car since September?
No.
Is it in her garage?
Yes.
How much do you still owe the plaintiff on the car?
About 5,000.
Good. Is this Amy? Amy Zacharias, this is Judge Judy Scheindlin. How are you? Miss Zacharias, I have Miss Wilson here who tells me that you have a car parked in your garage that belongs to her. Is that correct? And how long has the car been parked there? Well, I want you to get as sure as you can because I'm sending a marshal over to pick up that car. Do you understand? Very good. The car does not belong to Miss Wilson. It belongs to someone else. And the marshal or the sheriff is going to come over and pick it up. I am advising you that if you move the car, I will advise the sheriff in your county that you have stolen property in your garage. Do you understand? Very good. Thank you very much. That's all.
Wow.
Yeah. You're going to go, listen to me very carefully. You're going to go outside and call the police department in your county. I've spoken to Miss Zacharias. The car is, in fact, in her garage. I have told her that the sheriff will be coming over to pick up the car. Then you're going to get your car back. Do you understand?
Yes.
Perfect. Now we're going to talk about the money that you've put into the car and how long you've had it. Do you understand?
Yes.
You can't keep property that you haven't paid for. Do I make myself clear?
I understand that, but
Perfect.
the agreement wasn't made like that.
I don't care what the agreement was. You just told me that you owe $5,000
I do,
on the
but there
car.
was also an agreement that stuff was going to get fixed. The title was to
And we
put
did
in my name.
Shut up. I don't want to hear. Don't interrupt her.
The title was to be put in my name with a lien on it. I could not do anything with this car. They consistently took the car from my house, followed me,
I don't want...
stalked
Listen
me.
to me. You interrupt her again, I'm throwing you out. Do you understand?
Yes.
Perfect. Now, if you complain and if you don't want this deal, then you return the car, but you don't get to keep the car
I
without
want
paying
the car.
for it.
I want the car.
That's too bad. At
We
this
had
point.
an agreement, and
That's
I
too...
put
Listen to me.
$4,000
Listen to me.
into it.
Listen to me. I'm going to get to the $4,000 you put into it, but you can't keep it for nothing. Do you understand?
Yes.
Perfect. So she's going to get the car, and now I'm going to figure out how much of your $4,000 you're going to get back. Do you understand, Miss Lagunas?
Yes.
It's your car. The title is in your name.
And that's right.
I have just told Miss Zacharias she is to release the car to the sheriff. She understands that she's going to be in serious trouble if she doesn't do that.
Okay.
The car is yours. It hasn't been paid for. You are repossessing that car.
Yes.
Period. End of discussion. You got it?
Yes.
Perfect. Now, how many months did you have this car?
Since April. Maybe the end of
March.
March, April.
April, May, June, July, August, September, October, October and a half, 7.5 months.
Yes.
And you have put how much into the car? $4,000
Yes.
in payments? The
And
car
not
was-
on top of everything I had to fix, which they did not do.
Listen to me. Do you have a contract in writing that indicates what they're supposed to fix?
It was all verbal.
Fine. So you've put in $4,000 in payments for the car.
Yes.
She was supposed to give me a down payment of $3,000, pay $200 every 2 weeks.
I don't care.
Okay.
You're getting your car back.
That's right.
But she's getting something. I mean, she used this car for 7 months. She's not going to use it for 7 months without paying for it. If you rented a car for 7 months for $300 a month is $2,100. So you deduct, let's say she paid $4,000 into the car.
But she didn't pay $4,000. It was $3,850.
Fine. You have proof that you paid her $4,000?
No, it was a rough estimate.
Oh, well, rough estimate. She said $3,850?
That's correct, yes.
Minus $2,100 equals 0, 5, 7, $1,750. Does that sound reasonable?
Yes.
Perfect.
So I'm
1,000
out of a car now?
Yes,
Out of
car
the
you
money?
didn't pay for.
Well, why did I pay $4,000 now to lose
Just
a
a
car?
second. You didn't pay $4,000 for a car.
$38.50.
What you paid for was the equivalent of a car rental for $300 of a very nice
I
Ford
paid for a
Expedition.
car.
You didn't pay for it.
I have my
Make
witness-
believe it's a bank. When was the last time you made a payment?
August.
That's too bad. You're out of
But
luck.
they didn't go
The
with
car
their
is just-
agreement.
The car is
They
just
didn't go with their agreement.
repossessed. Listen to me. The car is now repossessed. They are going to take the car because you can't drive around
I
with somebody's
paid up
property
to
yourself.
August.
To June.
Just a second. Look at me.
We had an agreement. And this is my truck that I would have paid for if they would have went with their agreement. I paid up
You
until
was not
August.
paying your payments.
They didn't
Miss
put the
Lagunas,
title in my
Miss
name.
Lagunas, listen to me.
Yes.
She secreted the car,
I know.
and she did not pay for it for 3 months. You are repossessing the car. She doesn't like it. It's tough. She didn't make the payments. She hid the car so that you couldn't repossess it.
They were following me, putting my kids in danger, harassing
Your
my
Honor, I have the
job.
911
Miss
tape.
Lagunas, I don't want to hear you unless I ask you a question. Do
Okay.
you understand?
Yes.
Otherwise, you're out of here without your truck, period. Do you understand?
Yes.
I'm not going to tell you again. Maybe if you dressed and covered your shoulders when you came to court, you would understand what court decorum is. Otherwise, be quiet unless I speak to you.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I'm treating it as if you rented her car. A bank would not do that for you.
bank?
Listen to me.
But-
Just be quiet.
And later today,
You have no relation to this case whatsoever. Zero. You have nothing to do with this case. Do we understand each other?
Yes.
Perfect.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Margaret Lagunas claims former friend April Wilson owes for an SUV that she is currently hiding from her. April is countersuing for harassment, claiming Margaret endangered the lives of her and her children.
Now, go buy yourself a new car. You're getting $1,000. You're getting $1,000.
$38.50 into it, plus the stuff I fixed.
Miss Wilson, I'm not going to bother with you anymore. You used her property, and you're getting back $1,750. I'm treating it as if you rented her car. A bank would not do that for you. Do you understand that? Listen to me. A bank would not do that for you.
But-
Just be quiet. You didn't pay for it. It's being repossessed. You're getting back $1,750. Use it as a down payment for another car. Do you understand?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you very much. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I put all this money into the car to now not have a car.
This is just the kind of person she is. She's done it to many other people.
And I get $17.50. Who's gonna buy a car for $17.50?
It's been a game since we gave it to her.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Squire versus Sarah Serro, step forward, please.
Maureen Squire is suing her son, 19-year-old Matthew Sarasaro, for legal fees resulting from an ongoing court battle. Matthew says his mom won't let him see his 12-year-old sister.
All right, Miss Squire, you and your husband were divorced. You had 4 children. This is one of your children.
Yes, ma'am.
Oldest, youngest, in the middle?
Oldest.
And when you separated, which was in what year?
December of 2000.
When you separated, the children stayed with your husband. Is that correct?
Yes, they did.
And they remained with your husband until 2005, when you pursued custody of one of your children, your daughter. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
And how old is that child?
She's 13.
And in 2005, she came to live with you.
Yes, she did.
Your first name is?
Matthew.
Matthew remained with his father
Yes, ma'am.
and his other 2 siblings.
Marshall and Michael.
When Matthew turned 18, which must have been just recently, Matthew decided he wanted to pursue visitation with his sister. How long had it been since you saw your sister?
It'd been a year.
1 year?
1 year.
Had you tried to see her before that?
I had tried to email her. I had tried to call her.
How far do you live from your mother?
I really don't know where my mom lives, but I'd have to say more than a half an hour.
So you went to court to try to get visitation with your sister.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you try calling your mother?
I did.
What happened?
There's a call wave block on the phone, so every time you call, you have to give your name. There was a few times that I had called, and my mom would have been listening on the phone calls, so I did not feel that it was appropriate that she would listen on the phone calls between me and my sister. I didn't think that was needed.
Okay, so you went to court.
Yes, ma'am.
This is your lawsuit, Miss Squire. Your lawsuit says that your son abused the court process by taking you to court, and he did several things which, according to you, prolonged the litigation. And then ultimately, when the matter was set for trial, he didn't appear.
Yes, that's true.
So you want him to pay you for damages and pain and suffering and whatever. You say first he went to court, which he has an absolute right to do. You understand that?
Yes, I do.
So A, he has a right to seek visitation with his sister. He should be seeing his sister. But if he's not, he wants a judge to say this is when you can see her. So he went to court. That's not an abusive process. We agree on that.
Yes.
What county do you live in?
Dutchess County.
And what county do you live in?
Dutchess County, ma'am.
According to your mother, you tried to get the matter transferred from one county to another.
No, ma'am. I had filed the paperwork, which I have here in Dutchess County.
The reason that it might move to another county, which was Orange County, is because my father is cousins with a family court judge in Dutchess County. All the judges in Dutchess County recused themselves, and the case got moved to Orange County. I had asked the county clerk if we could have it heard in Dutchess County because it provided an inconvenience for me to drive 40 minutes from my household and
To
40 minutes
Orange
back.
County, and they
Right.
said no.
They said no.
Now do you understand? One of the bases for your complaint that he abused you by abusing the court process, which you articulate here, is you say he tried to get the court county changed, but the judge denied that.
We went to court twice in front of Judge Reitz, and that is when Judge Reitz decided to let Judge Horowitz in Orange County handle the case.
Listen to me. First of all, you should both know that I know Judge Reitz. I don't think that makes any difference because I wouldn't do a favor for my grandmother if she was standing in front of me. What I'm trying to understand is the two of you live in Dutchess County.
Yes, ma'am.
You both wanted the case heard in Dutchess County. He wouldn't want it heard in another county. I assume you wouldn't want it heard in another county.
No, I am satisfied that it's being heard in Orange County with Judge Horowitz because Judge Horowitz has been the judge on our case for the past 4 years.
Your
Oh,
Honor.
that, just a second. Put your hand down. Don't speak. Who are you?
The husband.
You have no relation to this case whatsoever. Zero. You're not the father of these 4 children?
No, ma'am.
You never stood in place of a father to him? You have nothing to do with this case. Do we understand each other?
Yes.
Perfect.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You got to grow up, not him. You created this situation with his father.
No, I
You did. Oh, madam, there isn't a question in my mind that you created the situation because they're children.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Maureen Squire says her son, 19-year-old Matthew Sarasaro, owes for legal fees resulting from an ongoing lawsuit. Matthew says his mom refuses to let him see his 12-year-old sister.
Now, the next complaint that you have, Miss Squire, he also requested a public defender.
Yes.
Perfect. I would too if I were 18 years old and not familiar with the court process. I would too like to have a lawyer help to represent me. And if I didn't have money, I would ask the court to assign a lawyer to represent me. Why is that abusing the process?
He claimed to be a full-time student at the time of this court proceeding,
Who
and
cares
I have
if he was a full-time student or not? He was 18 years old.
Well, that was his claim, that he was a full-time student.
I
and
don't
he
care if he
needed-
was a full-time student or a dropout. He was 18 years old. He should definitely have a lawyer to help represent him. I don't know whether you had a lawyer or not, but you're older and supposedly wiser. If he wanted the court to assign an attorney to him, that's his absolute right. And as far as I was concerned, if I were the family court judge sitting on that case, I would have assigned the panel attorney to represent him and charged the county.
Which was assigned to him, Your Honor. But
Perfect.
The issue is that he claimed to be a full-time student, and he was not. He withdrew from college.
So what? What was he doing?
I don't know.
Did he have money for a lawyer?
I don't know.
Did you have money for a lawyer?
Yes, I did.
Did you hire a lawyer?
I have the same attorney for the past 6 years.
Absolutely wonderful. He's 18. You're lucky you're not supporting him.
I was supporting him.
You're lucky you're
Your
not
Honor,
now.
She was not ever. She never takes child support.
Okay, then the next thing that you complain about, Ms. Squire, is that my attorney suggested at our May court date, all of these dates he appeared in, by the way, is that correct?
Up until June 15th.
Just listen to me. I said so far, all of these dates he appeared in.
Yes.
Then in May, your attorney, who you've had for
6 years.
6 years. Did you have an attorney in May?
Oh, ma'am, I've never had an attorney.
Just answer. Your lawyer spoke to him, and I assume the judge's court clerk and the judge, because I know the way that things go, and your attorney suggested, according to your complaint, at our May court date, because the matter was adjourned to May, that he could have supervised visitation with my daughter, provided her counselor was present. Matthew refused this solution.
Yes, he did.
Which is his absolute right. Just because your lawyer suggested it to him doesn't mean he has to agree. Just because your lawyer says, listen, I have a solution. You can see your sister as long as it's supervised by her counselor. He says, I don't want that. I want to go to trial. He's entitled to do that. So I'm crossing that out. My attorney suggested we have supervised visits, and Matthew refused this solution. So a trial date was set in June. When the trial date rolled around, I hired an expert witness and, of course, had my attorney, who you've had for 6 years, not with regard to a case involving him.
Yes.
He could not have had a case with you 6 years ago, madam. 6 years ago, he was 12.
He was also a part of a custody agreement with my ex-husband.
If you had to listen to me, Miss Squire, you had a lawyer with regard to a case involving your ex-husband.
And my
He
children
was
also
not,
had a law
he was
guardian.
not a party to that proceeding 6 years ago.
Okay.
But when that June date came around, Matthew did not show up.
No, he did not.
And that's what you're complaining about. And that's what you think shows an abusive process.
Yes, I do.
It doesn't.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Are you in a family dispute? Go to JudgeJudy.com or call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Listen, you have no case, Miss Squire.
I have transcripts of the court.
Listen to me. You have no case. Your son did not abuse the process of the court. Your son asked for only things that were reasonable, that anybody would have asked for in his circumstance.
And he never once called me to ask to speak to his sister, to see his sister. We live 7 miles apart.
Miss Squire, if you were served with these papers, then you're the mother. You're the mother who left her children.
I didn't leave my children.
Yes,
I left
you did.
my husband.
7 years ago.
I left
you
my husband.
left your children with your husband 7 years ago. And as far as I'm concerned, the mother would have picked up the phone and called and said, Matt, you want to see your sister, sweetheart? See her. Come over and see her. I'll meet you at McDonald's. Her
That's not the
stepfather
way
will bring
Matthew
her.
wanted it. Matthew wanted to take her on his own and fill her head with stories about her father and the situation between us.
Listen, Miss Squire, that's your problem. That's in your head. That's why your son doesn't talk to you. That's not his problem. You're the grown-up. You got to grow up, not him. He's 18. You created this situation with his father.
No, I
You
didn't.
did. Oh, madam, there isn't a question in my mind that you created this situation because they're children. So the two adults who brought them into the world created the situation. You're supposed to fix it,
And the
not
adult
make
they
it
were
worse by
living
suing
with
him.
filled their
Madam,
head with-
your case is dismissed. It's nonsense.
She took 15
Judge
minutes.
Judy
to decide that.
continues in a moment. 22-year-old Summer Norris is suing her former roommate, 26-year-old Brandy Noren, for unpaid rent, utility bills, and damages to her apartment.
Quiet in the courtroom. Miss. This way. Yeah, this is case number 270 on the calendar in the matter of Norris versus Noren. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
Miss Norris, it is your claim that the defendant owes you for some rent, a small loan, and the damage to your apartment. The defendant says that there was never an agreement to pay you anything, and she never borrowed any money. How do you know each other?
We work together.
Where?
River Birch Senior Living.
And what do you do there?
We're both caregivers.
What was she doing living in your apartment?
Well, we became friends, kind of, and she'd been telling me she had a hard time getting money for rent, and she'd been kicked out of her apartment, and she'd been staying with some of her friends, and she was unhappy living where she was, and I felt really bad for her. She has a 5-year-old son, so I figured, you know, I'd let her move in with me for a couple months, and I told her at first, you know, don't worry about paying anything, just buy groceries, do some cooking and some cleaning, and, you know, save up your money, get your own place. And I was trying to help her out. It ended up taking 6 months.
So far, is that right?
No, Your Honor, it's not.
Okay. Well, tell me your version of how it came about that you moved into her apartment, which you did.
Right, I did.
And you moved into her apartment with your child.
I did.
Who else was living in her apartment?
At the time, she had another boyfriend besides Brandon.
So just the plaintiff, her then boyfriend, you and your child.
Correct.
And you moved into her apartment, according to you, with the understanding that you would not be paying rent.
Correct.
Which was very nice of her.
Correct.
What had you ever done for her?
She was one of my friends.
What? That's not my question. What had you ever done for her?
I was just a friend to her, I guess.
So the answer is you did nothing for her.
I guess so.
Okay? So that her gesture in feeling sorry for your living situation and inviting you to live in her home rent-free was a very nice thing.
Okay, Your Honor, but she had paid the rent in a year in advance. I moved in a month after she and her boyfriend had moved in.
You mean the rent was already paid?
Yeah, she had her
So
rent
what
paid for a
difference does
full
that
year.
make? How
There
big-
was no agreement on the rent.
Open up your listening ears and listen to me because, you know, when I start to get agitated, he gets very, very nervous. When you moved into the apartment, it was a nice gesture on her part to let you and your kid move in there rent-free.
I understand that.
Well, then say yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Now that we've got that settled. Keep going.
She ended up staying there for 6 months. There was a whole bunch of stuff that happened.
Well, at the end of 2 months.
At the end of 2 months.
Which is what you gave her.
She still hadn't saved up any money.
Your Honor, I had already had it in an apartment that I was in the process of getting.
Oh, great. That was after 2 months?
Yeah. Well, this was actually within a month after I moved into there. I was in the process of getting an apartment. I had put a down payment on an apartment and was in the process, and she kicked her other boyfriend out and had asked if I wanted to stay.
Shh, 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 shh. Okay. So the other boyfriend, not this one, left.
Right.
And she asked you if you wanted to stay.
Correct.
Under what circumstances?
There was just the circumstances of the groceries and cleaning, and that was the only
Well, then it was still a
agreement.
nice... Listen to me. It was a really nice gesture, because now, according to you, just listen to me. Now, according to you, she no longer had a boyfriend who was helping her share the rent. Now
He wasn't paying rent anyway. Neither one of her boyfriends have paid rent in that place.
Good, so she was covering the rent.
Yeah. She already had paid it for a year. It was paid before she moved in.
This one's as dumb as a bucket of rocks, I swear to you. You're not listening.
I am listening.
Then she was a triply nice person, because now she doesn't have a boyfriend living with her, just you and your kid living there rent-free.
No, she moved him in right after she moved her other one out.
So was he paying rent?
No.
So now she got the two of you freeloaders living there rent-free and your kid.
And his kid.
So why didn't you move out?
I was planning on it. I was in the process of that.
But just a second. According to you, you were planning on moving out after 2 months, and you put a deposit down on an apartment. The question is, once she moved this new boyfriend in, why didn't you leave?
I had gotten the deposit back from my other apartment that I was trying to get, and whenever she had offered or asked for me to stay. And then as time went over, I was planning on moving. I was trying to move. I was working on moving, but I didn't have the money at the time.
What'd you do with the money that you got back as a deposit?
I had other bills to pay.
What?
I had a cell phone bill. I have, you know, other bills to pay.
Like what?
I had to buy groceries. I had to buy food.
Groceries and food are usually the same thing.
Well, I'm sorry. Miscellaneous
synonymous.
items then.
Like
I'm sorry,
what?
Your Honor.
Like what?
Like what? Bathroom stuff, laundry detergent.
That's groceries.
It's miscellaneous household items, I'm sorry. Plus food. My mother bought food for the apartment twice.
Keep going.
I didn't ask her to stay.
Just a second.
Oh.
I think she was buying some other stuff with her money anyway. Keep going.
I didn't ask her to stay. It was just kind of it was unsaid, but I did let her
Miss
stay.
Norris, you just let it go, right?
Yeah.
Tell me about the damage that you allege she...
Okay, there was damage to the stairs, her bedroom. The Venetian blinds are torn up.
Who tore up the Venetian blinds?
I don't know how it happened. I have cats, but none of the other Venetian blinds are torn up from them getting in the windowsills.
That's not true.
Yes, it is. And there was a incident in the bathroom, her and her boyfriend having a little fun, and she ripped the towel rack out of the wall. I have pictures of that.
I'd like to see it. How old was the boyfriend who she had in the apartment?
26, 28.
What's his name?
Her first boyfriend was Jimmy.
Does Jimmy have a last name?
Jimmy, which was Brandon's best friend, and as soon as him and I split up, that's when all the problems started, because he was his best friend.
Listen to me very carefully. Sounds to me as if Miss Norris was doing a good deed by inviting you and your son, who were homeless.
I wasn't homeless, Your Honor.
Well, where were you living immediately prior to her house? Give me the name, person who you were living with, and their phone number.
His name is Shane, and his phone number is 891.
How do you know him?
Because he was a boyfriend and a friend.
He was a boyfriend and a friend?
Yes.
Was he the father of your 5-year-old?
No, he is not.
Immediately prior to moving in with Miss Norris, how long did you live with Shane?
I would say maybe 6 months, maybe.
Prior to living with him, where did you live?
I had an apartment.
With whom?
With myself.
Where is the father of your 5-year-old?
In Springfield, Illinois.
Did you ever live with him?
A long time ago, before my child was born.
Who do you live with now?
I live with a boyfriend. We were getting ready to move into a house in Auburn.
And what's this boyfriend's name?
Scott.
So far, I know of at least 3
There were
men.
over years of period of time.
No, listen to me very carefully. So far, I know of at least 3 men to whom you have introduced your son.
And that I was with for a long period of time. With
He's
each
only
of them.
5, madam. He's only 5. Grow up. You made a baby. Anybody
And I
can
take
make-
care
I'm
of my
speaking-
child.
Anybody. You didn't take care of him. If you had to move in to this lady's house.
I still have my child, and my child's doing very well, and he's in a very well school. Very
He's in a
well clothed,
school?
very well
Good.
taken
He's at a
care
very
of.
well school. I have to write that down. Send it over to Webster's.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
It's nice to do nice things for people who appreciate them. This woman clearly does not. There's something wrong with her thinking process. Do you understand?
And later today,
So what you're saying to me is people moving around like idiots to heavy metal music, flailing their arms, etc. And it was when you were doing that that you knocked out his teeth.
Yes.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Summer Norris says her ex-roommate, Brandy Norin, owes for rent, bills, and damages to her apartment. Brandy claims they had no agreement to pay rent.
Now I want you to tell me about this loan that you alleged that you made to her.
We took a trip.
Your Honor, this trip, there's 2 other people that she bought tickets for on this trip that did not pay her back. So I do not feel that I owe her money on that trip. She knew that I was not able to pay for that trip and that I did not want to go, but she needed me to go because she needed me to participate in her set. It was a dance competition. She needed me to participate.
Your Honor, I paid for...
When was this trip?
In March.
Where did you go?
We went to Baltimore, and I paid for the plane ticket, and, you know, I told her I would pay for it. I didn't want money back for that because...
Fine. Then we don't have to deal with it.
Right.
So you just have to deal with the damage that was done that I see in the house. You want to tell me how much it's going to cost to fix that?
They said $35 an hour to fix everything. We went and got shampoo for the carpets and stuff, and that was about $30. But I have on my lease, and her name is on the lease, and at first, she's right, there was no agreement. But she did agree me to pay $100 every week until she had me paid off because I had gotten very upset. My boyfriend Brandon and I wrote out a list of what she would owe me if I had been charging her for everything. And she found that piece of paper with everything on it, and she sent me a text message saying she would pay me $100 a week until she got it paid off. My boyfriend saw it. I do not have the text message. I didn't think I would need it, but my boyfriend saw it. This is Brandon.
No, listen to me. Don't even bother. You do not have a contract. If you say that she signed a promissory note, I need the note. If you don't have the note, I do not take oral testimony about a written contract. Do you understand?
Yes.
I'm just telling you I'm trying to explain the law to you. You cannot introduce oral testimony of a written contract that you don't have. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Okay. So far, let's say that she owes you $250 for the damage to the apartment. You didn't expect to be repaid for the plane ticket, and you had no contract for rent. And I'm going to suggest something to you, Miss Norris. It's nice to do nice things for people who appreciate them. This woman clearly does not, and did not. You should have put her out before. And I know that that's sometimes a hard thing to do because she's got a 5-year-old child who's probably very sweet. But if you really expected her to reimburse you for money, then you should have put her out before. I mean, she thinks, well, just because she prepaid the rent for a year, it's no skin off your nose if she and her child live there. Well, that's outrageous. I mean, if I had a mortgage and if I prepaid my mortgage on my house for a year, you know, she'd say, well, so what? So the whole neighborhood can move in because what difference does that make to her? She's already paid it. There's something wrong with her thinking process. Do you understand? Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $250. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Sorry to see a friendship that had to end like this.
She just has no respect for anybody.
Well, she's not going to have my friendship anymore.
That's the kind of person she is, obviously.
That's how I'm going to repay her.
Well, I'll never have a friend move in with me again.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Malloy versus Muse. Step forward, please.
19-year-old Timothy Malloy and his mother, Paula, are suing Timothy's former friend, 23-year-old David Muse, for money loaned to have his teeth fixed.
Mrs. Malloy, this is your son.
Yes.
And the defendant used to be his friend.
Still is.
Good. This is your complaint. Your son and the defendant were at some sort of musical event. They were bandmates and friends. And this was some time ago. And at the event, your son accidentally, I assume accidentally, since they're still friends, punched the defendant or hit the defendant in the mouth, causing him to have 2 teeth that came loose, both of which required substantial dental work.
Yes.
At the time, your son was 17 years old.
Yes.
You claim that you loaned the defendant money for the dental work because he didn't have insurance and he did not pay you back.
No.
That's what your lawsuit is about. Mr. Muse, as a defense, says that your son was responsible to pay for his dental work since he was the one who knocked out his teeth. Since he was a minor, that responsibility fell on you. He has a counterclaim for the dental work, but the lawsuit itself resolves that issue, Mr. Muse. You understand? And as far as lost wages are concerned, I don't think that that was originally part of your claim. I don't know why you filed for that.
It was originally part of the counterclaim.
I understand it was part of the counterclaim, sir, but since Mr. Malloy is still a friend of yours, and I understand from his mother that there was a time when you lived in their home after this incident, I don't think that your lost wages became an issue until she sued you for the dental work. That be a fair statement?
The money that I did pay her while I was there could be considered as a sort of a rent for being there.
What does one thing have to do with another? Didn't you understand what I said to you?
Yes.
I said to you that countersuing for your lost wages doesn't seem to me to be something that you would be suing for unless Miss Malloy was suing you for the dental work.
And I also have other dental work. I had the root, she paid for the root canals. I also accrued over $1,000 in other dental work that's not paid for.
That I will consider.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
But his good luck was having someone he knew knock out his teeth and not some stranger at the show. Then he would have had no recourse.
He was very, very lucky. He was very, very lucky.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Timothy Malloy and his mother Paula claim David Muse owes for a loan to have his teeth fixed. David says it's Timothy's fault that his teeth were knocked out while they were moshing at a concert.
So let's get to your lawsuit. First of all, how did you knock out his teeth?
I was moshing at a show.
What's moshing?
It's a form of dancing at like heavier music, like metal or hardcore, where a bunch of people run around, swing their arms and legs, and accidentally hit him in the mouth.
So what you're saying to me is people moving around like idiots to heavy metal music, flailing their arms, etc., right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was when you were doing that that you knocked out his teeth?
Yes.
That be a fair statement?
Yes.
So whose fault is that, sir?
I guess I would say it was mine.
I guess you would be right.
But he should take some responsibility for being in that situation.
Absolutely not.
He should be aware of what's going on around
Absolutely not,
him.
Miss Malloy. That's like saying that when you're driving on a highway and you're doing 65 miles an hour, and if there is an accident because a car veers off and hits you, you should be aware of the fact that if cars are going 65 miles an hour, you could get hit. Therefore, it's partially your fault. That's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous assertion. Do you understand?
I understand. I've been to these shows. I stand off to the side because I know what's going on.
Well, you're a different person. But would you agree with me that if you and 10 other people are on a highway traveling 65 miles an hour, you know that if there's an accident, you could get hurt?
Yes.
And that some people don't drive as safely as others?
Yes.
And if you're in a car accident, would you think that the other person who did something wrong, who caused the accident, would have a defense if they say, well, if you didn't want to be on the highway where you were going 65 miles an hour, you should stay home? Is that a ridiculous defense?
Yes.
So is yours. Your son caused the accident, caused him to have 2 teeth that broke. It's his responsibility. And since he's 17 years old, it becomes your responsibility because he's a minor. Especially since if you tell me that you've been to these events and you know that's what happens, and if this is your minor son, you should have kept him home.
But now he never blamed Timothy. He came to me and it was a loan.
I am telling you that it's Timothy's responsibility and it falls on you. And if he wasn't smart enough then to say, listen, he caused the accident, he should be paying for the dental work. He's smart enough now. It's your responsibility. How old are you?
23 now.
And you were 22 at the time?
Yes.
You're 18 now?
19.
19?
Today.
19 today? Mm-hmm. What do you do?
I'm a musician.
Do you make a living at it?
At the moment, yes.
You do?
Yeah.
You should start paying your mother back for the money. Why don't you?
I don't have the money.
Why not?
Because I don't have that much. I don't make that much.
How much do you make?
Not a lot.
How much?
It's not set yet.
Yeah, this just started.
Oh, good. Well, you're 19, so you should start paying your mother back for the money. And he's got more dental work. What do you expect him to do with those bills? It's your fault.
Pay for them?
Right. That would be right.
Your Honor, he has made payments to me for the money, which
well, he was absolutely wrong to make payments to you.
Well, when we started out, it was a loan.
He was absolutely wrong to make payments to you. And the fact that you conned him into thinking that he was responsible for his own dental bills is a problem.
I didn't con him, Your Honor. He took responsibility for it.
He was not responsible. Your son was responsible.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Go to judgejudy.com or call 1-888-800-JUDY.
He was not responsible for getting punched in the mouth and for having 2 teeth knocked out of his face. Your son was responsible. And if he would have been 18 years old, there's no question, he would have been responsible. He would have paid. The question is, he wasn't 18 years old. He was 17 years old. And therefore, his mother, who knows what kind of actions go on there, because she said, I go there myself, and I stand off to the side because I know it can be dangerous. You allowed him to go there.
Yes, but David
even worse.
was moshing at the time also.
Even worse. He didn't hurt anybody. If he had hurt somebody, he would have been responsible. If he had knocked out your son's teeth, he would have been responsible.
Yes, Your Honor, but his good luck was having someone he knew knock out his teeth and not some stranger at the show. Then he would have had no recourse.
He was very, very lucky. He was very, very lucky. Your claim is dismissed, Miss Malloy. He owes you absolutely nothing. You and your son, on the other hand, owe him on his counterclaim $1,123. Thank you very much. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Jural waitress, Brenda Rhodes is suing her sister, homemaker Jessica Lullenberg, for the return of personal property. Jessica is countersuing for unpaid rent and for pawning her son's Xbox.
Yeah, this is case number 50 on the calendar in the matter of Rhodes versus Lullenberg. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, ma'am. Have a seat, please.
Miss Rose, the defendant is your sister, and according to your complaint, the two of you moved into an apartment together. Your sister put you out of the apartment, and according to you, she kept some of your property and disposed of your property, and you don't have it anymore, and you're suing her for, I think, $3,000 for the value of the property. Your sister says you left the property there. She doesn't have the property. She was forced to move out of the apartment when you left. She doesn't know what happened to it. Well, at least she doesn't have it. And she says that you actually owe her money. You owe her money because you didn't pay part of rent that you should have paid. And in addition, you stole her child's Xbox and pawned it for money. She wants money for that. Is this your mother?
Yes, it is.
When did you move in with your sister and why?
When? I'd say the first week in November.
Why?
To help her and her kids out.
Explain that to me.
She was working a night shift at a factory, and she asked me to watch her kids while she worked, and I said, okay. That was the agreement. No rent, no nothing was involved. As long as I stayed there with her kids, that's fine.
Who moved in? You alone?
Well, with my 2 other girls. I have 2 girls.
So what you're telling me is you weren't supposed to pay any rent?
Exactly.
Why?
As long as I watched her kids while she worked.
Just a minute. Weren't you working?
No, not at the time. She said, you know, when you can, find a job.
That's interesting. So she worked at night?
Yes.
And you slept while she worked?
Watched her kids and my kids while she worked.
Well, what were her hours of working?
5 o'clock in the evening till 3:30 in the morning.
So I assume at some point you went to sleep?
Well, yeah.
You weren't watching the children 3:30 in the morning?
No.
And how old are her boys?
Ashton is 6 and Tyler is 4, I believe.
And your children?
Mackenzie is 5 and Alyssa is 3.
So they're about the same age?
Yes.
And when did you move out?
She kicked me out the night before Thanksgiving.
So you were there for less than a month. What happened?
We went to a local bar together with her boyfriend, and somehow it became of a fight. She came up to me, started calling me obnoxious names. She pushed me into a DJ, and she told me to get my crap out. Other words were said. And I had to give her the key. It was her key. She was on the lease. I wasn't. I gave her the key. I tried to go back that night. She wouldn't let me have my things. The next day, I was with my other sister, Rebecca. She took me over there. I tried to get my things. She wouldn't let me.
What things?
My girls' brand new beds. I went out and bought them.
Okay. Your daughter's beds?
Yes.
What else was there?
My girls' clothes.
What else?
Just little items, but I don't really care about them.
Okay. Your children's beds and their clothes?
Yes.
You took none of your children's clothes?
She wouldn't let me in. I couldn't.
Did you ever go back to get the children's clothes?
I tried. I called the police.
Oh, did you ever get them?
No.
And when did your sister, to the best of your knowledge, move out of the apartment? When did you move out of the apartment?
When did I? The 1st of December.
When you moved out of the apartment, where were the children's beds?
The children's beds, they came with me, ma'am.
Yes. The girls' beds?
We had a verbal agreement.
Just a second.
Okay.
So the girls' beds came with you?
Yes, they did.
And the girls' clothes?
The girls' clothes. I took them to my sister Rebecca's house, and my sister Brenda picked them up.
And the beds you took with you?
Yes.
Why did you take the beds with you?
Her boyfriend at the time, his brother TJ asked if he could use the Xbox of my boys.
I'm talking about the beds.
Why? Yes, I'm getting to that. I took those because she stole my kids' Xbox and pawned it off. Her husband, Sean, told me that she went to his house and told him that she got $150 out of it. And me and her had an agreement.
I don't even talk to Sean.
Miss Rhodes. Miss Rhodes.
Me and Brenda, we agreed, we had a verbal agreement that I could keep the beds for compensation of the Xbox. That was the agreement we had together.
I don't think so.
No, Miss Rhodes, I don't want you to speak now, okay?
All right.
Good. Miss Lullenberg, do you take any medication?
Do I? No. I'm pregnant. I don't take no medication. Never in my life.
I'm going to read you something.
Okay.
And this something is a sworn statement that you made to the court.
Okay.
And you say, I do not have my sister's daughter's beds or her clothes. All of her belongings were there when I left. And I know my landlord had no use for them either. In any case, my parents bought those beds for her for $200. I have sons, so I have no use for girls' clothing, and I have no idea how she came up with $3,000. So when you swore to this affidavit, you swore to the fact that when you left the apartment December 1st, the beds were there. Listen to me.
Okay.
Now you're telling me that you took the beds because you had an agreement with your sister that the beds were going to be yours. So what happens is, Miss Lullenberg, what you have to do is you have to tell the truth all the time so that you don't have to keep making up stories as you go. Do you understand?
Yes.
When somebody asks you to fill out an affidavit, and with the affidavit it says, I, Jessica Lullenberg, being duly sworn, deposes and says, and you say in this affidavit that you sign that I left the beds in the apartment when I moved out. That's what you said. You didn't say anything about taking them with you, about an agreement with the Xbox. You didn't say anything about it. You said I left them there when I moved out. The problem is you forgot. You forgot the story that you told.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She lived approximately a month with me.
No, it wasn't a month.
Well, what I came up with was.
Is that the same thing that you came up with when you couldn't figure out what happened to the beds?
And later today.
All right, Mr. Hallmark, now I'll hear you, sir.
Pardon me?
I'll hear you.
Can you repeat that?
I will hear you.
You know what? You guys can laugh at someone else. I'm out of here.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Brenda Rhodes says her sister, Jessica Lullenberg, owes for the return of her children's beds and their clothes. Jessica claims Brenda pawned her son's Xbox.
Okay. How much did you pay for the beds?
$320 cash.
Show me. Great. Now, you want to tell me why she owes you for rent and the value of the Xbox. Go ahead. That's your counterclaim.
We made an agreement when she moved in that she would try to get a job. She lived approximately a month with me, 4 weeks. I was the only one
No, she
working.
didn't live a month. She lived there less than 3 weeks.
Well,
It was about 2.5.
Shh. Miss Rhodes, do
I'm
I look like
sorry.
I need any help from you? No.
It was approximately, well, about a month, ma'am.
No, it wasn't a month. It wasn't a month.
Well, what I came up with was.
Well, is that the same thing that you came up with when you couldn't figure out what happened to the beds? She moved out Thanksgiving. That's still in the month of November.
Thanksgiving Day. The day of Thanksgiving, I told her to come get her belongings that she's out of my house.
Right.
And that was at my parents' home.
So she said she was going to try to get a job. And for the few weeks that she was there, she did not get a job. So?
And everything was in my name. My father loaned me the $700, and I paid the rent, and I paid $255 for the NIPSCO, and I paid for the water, which was $30, and I have all this right there.
She didn't get a job. You had no agreement. You just said to me, you told her, move in with me and try to get a job. She didn't get a job in the 2.5 weeks that she lived there.
But she didn't pay any bills. She didn't try.
That wasn't your agreement. That wasn't your agreement, Miss Lullenberg. Your agreement was not that she was going to pay a certain amount of money every month, whether or not she had a job. Your agreement was that she was going to be there, according to you, that she was going to stay there with you and try to get a job, and once she got a job, you were going to work out a payment schedule.
Exactly.
She didn't get a job in the 2.5 weeks that she was there, so she doesn't owe you any money for bills. Now, let's get to the Xbox.
I have a police report.
Let me see it.
That I...
All right, without resorting to any hearsay, madam, let us assume that your son had an Xbox and games, and your son no longer has it, the Xbox and games. What makes you think that your sister, what proof do you have?
What proof I have it?
Do you have that your sister took
A statement from TJ.
I don't take statements, madam. Statements are hearsay.
Okay.
What proof do you have that your sister...
What proof? None.
Good.
I should have brought her husband.
Well, then you should have brought somebody who could testify with regard to the Xbox. Your counterclaim is dismissed. You owe your sister for the beds, which you finally acknowledge that you did in fact take and are using $320, which is the cost of the beds.
Thank you.
Thank you, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
They're my family, but that's it. That's as far as it goes.
She's evil.
I don't want nothing to do with them.
She owes me and her dad money. I got another daughter that owes us money. No.
Family never works out.
I have got some evil daughters.
We could go on and on and on all day of all the things they've done to me and them being family. It's sad.
It ain't gonna change, but, you know, I'd like it to, but...
Never, ever, ever, ever. I don't ever want to see them again.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Matthews versus Hallmark. Step forward.
Department store worker Sharon Matthews is suing her friend's ex-boyfriend, mechanic George Hallmark, for damage to her car. Sharon claims George power braked, spraying her car with rocks.
What's your name?
Cynthia Dodd.
Dodd? Mm-hmm. I assume from what I read, Miss Matthews, that Miss Dodd was the friend that you were referring to in your complaint. Is that right? You were helping, according to you, Miss Dodd move out of Mr. Hallmark's residence. They had been boyfriend and girlfriend.
Yes, Your Honor.
Is that right? She called you and asked you, or came over to your home and asked you if you would go over and accompany her while she retrieved some of her property.
Yes.
Because I assume, well, step up for a moment. I assume, Miss Dodd, that you were separating from Mr. Hallmark and it was not a friendly separation. Is that right?
Correct.
How long had you been together?
About 7 months.
You were living in his house?
Yes.
Just the two of you?
Yes.
When did you decide to leave?
When he threw me out.
What date?
The 11th of February.
Had you had an argument?
Yeah, I was taking him to work, and he told me to get out of his car and just go away. So I called her mother-in-law and had her come pick me up.
Where did you have her pick you up?
Across the street from his work, where he put me out of his car.
And from there, where did you go?
To her mother-in-law's home.
Then there came a time when you went back to his house, is that right, to collect some of her property?
Yes.
And that was also on the 11th?
No, this was on the 23rd of February of this year.
Had you made arrangements with Mr. Hallmark to go back and get your things on that date? Tell me about that.
I called and asked him if it would be okay if I came and picked up a few things, and he said that'd be fine.
What things did you want to get?
Just some clothes.
You hadn't gotten any clothes?
No, ma'am.
Did Miss Dodd call you on the 23rd and ask you if she could come over, Mr. Hallmark?
Sure did.
And you said it was okay?
Yeah.
And what happened when she got there?
She got her things. As we were leaving, I pulled up next to her and I said, "Nice car, Sharon."
Okay. That's
all
what we're
this-
getting. Just a second. So you got your things inside.
Yes.
And it's your claim, Miss Matthews, that at some point during that interchange of property, Mr. Hallmark damaged your car.
Yes, he did.
Now we're going to take it step by step, because he says he didn't, and if he did, it was an old car, or it was an accident. You know, there are a couple of defenses here. He's going to give all of them to me when it's his turn, right?
Sure.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So you went inside to the house, and you got your things.
Yes.
Did you have any words with him?
Yeah, I asked him to please not, start yelling at me like he usually does and threatening me.
Well, what did you say to him and what did he say to you? She was waiting outside. You were waiting outside?
Yes, I was waiting outside, and I told her, if anything happens, just yell really loud. Or otherwise, if you take too long, I will be up there to knock on the doors because we got to go.
Okay. So she went into the house. You went and knocked at the door. And what happened, Miss Dodd, when you knocked at the door?
I asked George if it was all right if I came in and got some stuff, and he said that'd be fine. Then he asked me why I was doing this, and I said, because you threw me out. And I asked him, please stop yelling and don't,
Was he yelling at that point?
He's starting to raise his voice, and he's known to be loud.
Okay. What happened next?
And then he kind of calmed down, and so I finished getting my things, and I got outside.
You brought your things outside?
Correct. To Sharon's car.
Did you put them in the car?
Yes.
What happened next?
We started to back out, and he walked up to her and said, oh, nice car. Because she'd just got her car
No,
like
she
2
was
days.
in the. You weren't in the car yet. You were over at your car in the front of the driveway.
I didn't, just a second. I
I'm
didn't hear
sorry.
you. Was she in your car?
I was next to the car.
You were standing next to the car?
Yes.
Now tell me what happened.
Okay, when because she had her vehicle that he had pushed out in the road and had towed away like the next day or something, but that's beside the point.
Well, then don't give me what's beside the point. I have to stick to the point. I'm old.
Okay, sorry, but okay, she had walked out to her vehicle and was trying to get into it, but she didn't have the keys, and that's when I backed out of the driveway. And after I backed out and I pulled up just towards her car, going the opposite direction, that's when George went out the driveway too, but he was going up next to my car, and that's when he said something like, nice car, does it run good, or something to that effect.
Did you answer him?
No, I didn't say anything. I just turned up my radio. And at that point, she came into my car and got in the vehicle because she didn't have the keys to her car. And he went around me, and at that point, it goes down to where it Y's off. You have to go one way or the other, and there's like dirt and gravel right there at the end of the street. And at that point, it seemed like a long time, but it was about 30 seconds where he had power braked his car, and he kept his foot on the brake and put his foot down on the gas and just kept burning out. It seemed like forever because I thought my window had broken quite a few times the way it cracked and it hit the windshield and it hit the front end of my car.
Pebbles?
Yeah, well, there's like rocks and dirt and everything down there. It's not a very good street. You
have pictures of the damage to the car?
Yes, I have one picture on it.
What time of the day was this?
It was about approximately 7:30 p.m.
After he revved up his car and caused this debris to go on your car, did he leave?
Yeah, he did.
Okay. All right, Mr. Hallmark, now I'll hear you, sir.
Pardon me?
I'll hear you.
Can you repeat that?
I will hear you.
Okay. What do you want to hear?
I want to hear your version of the events of the 23rd of February, sir.
Yeah? Here's a picture of the corner.
No. I don't want to see a picture of the
You don't
corner. I
wanna
want
see a
you to
picture
tell
of the
me what
corner?
happened.
She came, got her stuff. She's putting her stuff in the car, and I pulled up next to her and I go, oh, nice car, way to go. I went on up to the corner and took off. I punched the gas, and it got rocks, but she was still putting her gun in the trunk. And I don't know. The next thing she never asked me to repair it. She never showed me the damage.
What kind
Next
of work?
thing I know, I get this
Stop
paperwork.
Stop it. What kind of
that
work?
I'm being sued.
Mr. Hallmark, what kind of work do you do for a living, sir?
Mechanic.
What kind of mechanic?
Mechanic.
Well, there are all kinds of
Automotive,
mechanics.
trucks.
Automotive.
Equipment.
Okay. Are you self-employed or do you work for someone?
Yeah, self-employed.
Where do you work out of, sir?
My house.
So you have a garage in your house?
No, I have a garage at my house.
Did you file tax returns last month?
You know what? You guys can laugh at someone else. I'm out of here.
Okay. Ms. Matthews, the defendant has chosen to leave, but I've heard enough after hearing the facts of this case and seeing his demeanor and temper to determine that he maliciously caused damage to your car.
Your Honor,
And he,
I'm sorry, ma'am.
You're suing for $700 for a paint job? That's a reasonable amount. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $700. We'll see someone escorts you out. Thank you.
Can you make
all.
sure he's not out there?
Yes, we'll
Thank
make
you.
sure someone escorts you outside.
Parties are excused when they step out.
21-year-old student Nikki Gajowski is suing her former tenant, 22-year-old waitress Patricia Carlson, for unpaid rent and damage to her apartment. Patricia is countersuing for damages resulting from a wrongful eviction.
This is case number 95 on the calendar in the matter of Gajowski versus Carlson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
Ms. Gajowski, you sublet your apartment to the defendant, and you claim that she moved out, she owes rent, and she damaged the apartment. You want her to be responsible. Ms. Carlson said she was just a few days late in paying her rent in March, and you evicted her. You told her she had to get out. You locked her out, and she is counterclaiming for all kinds of things due to this wrongful eviction. Okay, were you friends before this sublet?
Yes.
How long was your lease?
My lease started March 27, 2003, and it ended April 30th of 2004.
And when did you sublet the apartment to Ms. Carlson?
October 1st of 2003.
And did you sign a written document with her of sublet?
Yes, ma'am.
Can I see it?
Notarized.
So I gather what you wanted, Ms. Carlson, was once this sublet was over, because this agreement is a lease.
Yeah.
And it is a lease for you to live there until the end of her lease.
Yes.
Unless, of course, you could get the lease put in your name, which is, I assume, what you wanted.
Yeah.
So that you would be the primary tenant.
Yes, of course.
That never happened.
No.
Well, you were late in your rent in March. What was the rent?
$520.
Why were you late?
I had to work, so I didn't pay rent. I was like a couple days late. I went to the office. I told them.
No. I don't know what that means. I mean, how old are you?
I'm 22.
Do your parents buy this baloney when you ask a question, you get double talk? I said, why did you pay rent? And you said, because I have to work.
I didn't. I was late.
And so there was no reason. Okay. How late were you? Couple of days. Couple of days is 2. Are we talking about March 2nd?
Rent was due from the 1st to the 5th. I went up to the office around the 13th.
Okay. So that you weren't a couple of days late, you were 2 weeks late in the rent. It's due on the 1st. You have a grace period until the 5th, but you didn't bother to show up until the 13th. Why?
I was working.
Everybody works.
I was doing doubles. It was a month time that employees had to work double shifts.
Sounds to me if you're working double shifts, you're making twice as much money.
Yeah, but we worked like to all hours of the night. I would come home at like 5 in the morning, and I would have to leave at 9 to get to work by like 10:30.
All you have to do is put your check in an envelope, my dear. So you're working double shifts means you're making a lot of money. Should have had money to pay your rent. $500. There's no excuse.
I understand that.
Okay. Oh, fine. So that you breached your lease.
Yeah.
And you got a call, I gather, and as a result of that call, you changed the locks on the apartment. When did you change the locks on the apartment?
I got a call around the 11th. And I tried calling Tricia several times. I left messages. I said, I want to know what's going on. Do you need me to help you? She never returned my phone call, never paid the rent. So then I went in and I changed the locks and I left her a message. I said, look, I changed the locks. Either please go pay the rent with the late fee or, you know, get a U-Haul and move out. I did give her about 3 days. Okay. That was my last resort.
Fine. So you want her to pay the rent that she owes for March, $520, and the rent that she owes for April.
And a late fee of $37.65 or something.
Okay. Now, you also wanted to pay for some damage. What kind of damage?
Well, I had a pet when I lived there. I paid a deposit, and he did cause some damage. I do have a bill here of what I paid out of my pocket. I don't expect the whole deposit back, but she did get a dog without my permission, a puppy.
Then let's not play. Okay.
Well, you know, the damage is people vandalized the door. They stuck condoms all over the door, and they sprayed it with a fire extinguisher. She had a little ashtray outside the door. Plus, when she left, there were cigarette burns in the carpet, and I had to clean the entire apartment. And out of the $200, they charged me $140.
Okay, not a big deal.
Yeah.
Not the 2 months' rent that you want, which is $1,040. Okay. So now you have a counterclaim. I'll hear you.
Can I speak on what she's
referring to damages and stuff?
If you want to, I'm not really
Okay,
seriously
I was
considering
dog
it.
sitting. The dog stayed in a crate. Didn't go out whatsoever. Took it to doggy daycare so that I knew it would be in safe hands when I was at work. So it didn't do as much as damages than she expected.
She's not talking about a lot of money.
Okay, I understand that. But the condoms and the fire extinguisher blown in the door were under resort of her friends. She had an ex-boyfriend would come over late night. They would knock on the door. Came in one time, woke me up because he's...
I'm not considering damages to the door. I'm not, quite frankly, interested in condoms on the door and writing on the door. I'm not interested. We're talking about $100. She's going to deal with it. She wants $1,040 for the months of March and April, and you want her to pay you $700-800 because she wrongfully evicted you. So let me hear your case.
Countersuing for lost wages.
What lost
Lost wages of when she made me move out. I had received a call at work. I had the time cards. I have a statement. Everything that day, she said, you have to leave. I went up to the office on the 13th to tell them that I'm moving out. I'm willing to pay rent and stuff. They called her to let her know. She freaked out, changed locks on me, called me at my work on my cell phone, told me that you better get your crap out. You will have 15 minutes and police supervision. So I freaked out. I have to go get my stuff. This is the stuff I've been earning since I was 17. So I'm not going to let it be gone. I'm not going to let it disappear.
I absolutely agree with you.
Your Honor. Shh. Sorry. So, and that's lost wages, punitive damages, and emotional distress. I've known this girl forever. Known her for a long time. She put me through a lot of stuff. I'm a great friend, okay? I will be there for you any time of the week, any day of the month, whatever. She would call me certain occasions and just stress me out, freak me out.
Shh, listen to me. I'm not your therapist.
Oh, I understand that.
I'm not your therapist. I want to know what your counterclaim is for. You can't tell me it's for emotional distress because I'm a better friend than she is. We don't maintain a whole judicial system to hear that kind of nonsense.
I understand.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I had to pay people to let me live in their house because I was living on the streets.
Where does your family live?
Probably about a half an hour to an hour away.
Don't they like you?
And later today,
I want to see what a good pupil you have become over the last 20 years that we've known each other. So ask him a question.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Nikki Gajowski says former tenant Patricia Carlson owes for rent and damage to her apartment. Patricia says Nikki kicked her out, so she's not paying.
So tell me what you want.
I want money back from moving abruptly, going to get a U-Haul to move my stuff. I had to pay some people to move. I had to pay people to let me live in their house because I was living on the streets. You know, I didn't know where to go.
Where does your family live?
Probably about a half an hour to an hour away.
Don't they like you?
Yeah, we get along once in a while.
So temporarily, instead of living in the street, why couldn't you go and live with your family?
Because my car, it's not that mobile. I have to go back to work, and I don't want to go back to work an
so
hour,
are you
an hour
living
and a
at the
half.
street right near your job?
Do what now?
Were you living in the street right
No.
near your job?
No.
You picked another street.
No, I had to inconvenience another friend to let me move in.
You said you were living in the street.
So basically, I could have been living on the street.
No, that's not what you said. You said I was living on the street. I would just want to know which street you were living on, or whether I was getting high theater here. Listen, you did the wrong thing. You sublet an apartment and you blew off your rent. And she tried to call you a couple of times and you didn't respond to her call because you were very busy working 2 shifts and you didn't have time to take a check, put it in an envelope, put a stamp on it, and put it in the mailbox. Wrong. Grow up. Be a big girl. You signed a lease. Your lease was to pay the rent at the appropriate time. You didn't do that. She may have been a little overzealous when she said, listen, you got to get your stuff out of there in 15 minutes, if that's in fact what she said. Bottom line is, she wasn't going to support you while you were paying rent. That's unreasonable. Pay the money you owe it, $1,040. Judgment for the plaintiff, your counterclaim's dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She became vain.
I don't know what she's talking about being vain.
Her just being totally into herself.
You know, I'm not all about that stuff.
Don't care about other people other than her.
This is a girl that needs to grow up.
And I can do that.
Get a life.
I don't know, I'm not going to be into that drama anymore.
And quit living the trashy life that she's living.
Vain as hell.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Lamb versus Cobbs. Step forward, please.
19-year-old student Karen Lamb is suing her boyfriend's ex-roommate, 18-year-old electrical apprentice James Cobbs III, for totaling her car. James is countersuing for defamation of character.
Miss Lamb, the defendant borrowed your car, had an accident. You want him to pay the deductible that cost you to have the car fixed. That was $1,000. And Mr. Cobbs, while he does not specifically address the accident, he is counterclaiming because he said when he got to the police station, you were there and you were bad-mouthing him to his boss. So he is counterclaiming for slander and defamation of his otherwise perfect character.
Yes, ma'am.
How do you know him?
He's my boyfriend's ex-roommate.
Boyfriend?
Yes.
Ex-roommate?
Yes.
And when did he borrow your car?
February 21st. It was a Saturday morning.
What time did he borrow the car?
Around 8 a.m.
Why?
He wanted to go out to Walmart to buy breakfast food because his girlfriend was going to make us breakfast.
So you gave him the keys. What happened?
I was coming into Walmart, and I was taking a turn. The car skidded on the wet pavement, and I hit into the guardrail.
Were you going fast?
Speed limit, probably 55, 60.
But if you were making a turn, you usually slow down.
I did slow down, but obviously not enough.
So it was your fault?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if it was your fault, don't you think you're responsible for paying the deductible, so she shouldn't be out of any money?
No, ma'am.
Well, now we're interested. So you had an accident, but it was your fault.
Mm-hmm.
So you explain to me why she should be out the $1,000 instead of you.
I believe I don't owe her the money because we didn't sign any kind of contract saying that I was going to pay her deductible if I crashed her car. You know, we didn't agree to that, none of that. And $1,000 deductible is just, to me, it's ridiculous.
You're going to break it down, aren't you?
What?
You're going to break it down, right? I just want to see this.
Just 1 second. Just 1 second. I want to see what a good pupil you have become over the last 20 years that we've known each other. Okay? Why don't you ask him the question? See? Ask him the question.
If you crashed a car and it's your fault and you admit that it's your fault, once again, why should she be out of $1,000 for your mistake?
Because she, after the accident, she just continued to disrespect me all the time. You know, when I was at the police station and got arrested, I went to.
We're not getting to that yet. Forget what happened at the police station. He asked a question. It's a perfect question. I couldn't have posed the question better myself.
I already told you. I don't think that I owe the money because I didn't sign no contract with her.
You don't have to sign a contract. What makes you think you have to sign a contract, Mr. Cobbs?
That's what I believe.
Do you believe that the earth is flat or round?
No, I think it's round, though.
Good, and you're right. But just because you believe that something is true doesn't make it so if it's not the law. Let me ask you this question, okay, because I can see we're dealing with... You're driving the car down the street, and you're going a little too fast, and you hit a lady who's crossing the street, and you break both of her legs, and her medical bills are $50,000, and she has no insurance. Got it so far? You following me? And you never signed a contract with her that if you hit her, you would pay her medical bills. Do we understand each other?
Yeah.
Who do you think would be responsible for her medical bills, you or her?
Me.
Good. And why would that be, even though you didn't have a written contract?
Broke her legs. Of course I have to pay for the hospital.
You broke her car.
Yeah, but she already got paid. They totaled the car.
No, she didn't already get paid, sir. She was out $1,000. They took $1,000 off of what they paid her because she has insurance with a $1,000 deductible. So she's out $1,000.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He told his boss, well, you shouldn't get him out because you're saying he has weapons at home. She's scared when he gets out that he's going to do something to her, he's going to harm her.
Did she say what kind of weapons he had at home?
She said he had a fishing knife.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Karen Lamb says her boyfriend's ex-roommate, James Cobbs III, owes for totaling her car. James says Karen badmouthed him to his boss, so he shouldn't have to pay.
So now let's get to what happened that caused you all of a sudden to be not responsible.
All right, well, The following Monday, I went to, I actually picked up a copy of the police report, and then we brought it back to the house, and Karen and I filled it out. So after we filled it out, I agreed to go make a copy of it for her at the police station for her and her insurance company. When I got to the police station to make the copy of the report, they told me that I had a prior warrant in Brockton for another court fee, and they arrested me.
For another what?
A court fee.
So what happened when they told you that they had the warrant issued for you?
They arrested me.
That's what they do when there's a warrant. Let's hear the rest of it.
So after I got arrested, I started to make phone calls to make sure that I could get my bail money. I called my boss to inform them that if I didn't get out of jail that night, that I wasn't going to be at work the next day, so I didn't lose my job. I'm an electrical apprentice. I have a professional career, so I don't need to be playing around with work. So my boss agreed to come and pay the bail. He told my roommate, one of my other roommates, that he was going to come and
pay the bail. Okay,
yes.
go ahead.
So when he arrived at the police station, Karen was there, and when he got out the car, he was conversing with my cousin, he and his wife, and then Karen approached him and began to just ask him questions.
Okay, now you weren't there when this happened.
No, I was in the cell.
But you were.
Yes.
So step up here. And your name is?
Justin Coward.
And you were there on the 23rd, something like that, of February?
Yes.
And you were outside the police station?
Yes.
What brought you to the police station that day?
Well, I got a call saying that he was in jail for whatever reason he was there for. So I came, and when I got there, she was there too. We was all there, you know what I'm saying? But she told his boss, well, you shouldn't get him out because he's bad. She's saying he has weapons at home. She's scared when he gets out that he's going to do something to her, he's going to harm her, which is not his whole personality.
Did she say what kind of weapons he had at home?
She said he had a fishing knife.
So he said he had a fishing knife at home?
Yeah, she said that he was going to hurt her or something. She thinks he's going to hurt him.
That's the way she felt? Right?
Yes.
You can have a seat.
Thank
you. Did you have a discussion with his boss?
Yes, I did.
What did you tell his boss?
His boss pulled up and said, are you here to bail out James? He said, yeah, why? Did you already do it? I go, no, I'm not bailing him out. And he said, why should I not bail him out? I go, you can do whatever you want. I'm just saying I'm not bailing him out. And he probably asked why. I don't really remember this too well, but I know I probably did say that he did have a knife at home. He did have a knife. I know I didn't say it was a fishing knife. I know nothing about knives. I have no idea what kind of knife it was, so I wouldn't have said a fishing knife. And I said, yeah, I didn't want him home because I had to return there to get my stuff. I was going back to school at night. I didn't want James to come home while I was still there.
Because he thought he might be angry that because of you sending him to the police station, he got arrested on a warrant, and you thought he might think it was your fault. You have a police report?
Yes, I do.
Can I see it, please? After the accident, according to this police report, the airbags deployed. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
After you had the accident, you went directly home? Afterwards, where did he go?
He went to Stop and Shop because Walmart didn't have the breakfast food. He got the breakfast food at Stop and Shop, and then he went to a liquor store to buy a pack of cigarettes, and then he brought the car back.
That sound right?
No. I might have went to Stop and Shop, but I didn't go to no liquor store.
Yeah, just had an accident, sir. You totaled out her car.
But it's not like I got out the car limping. I broke my neck. I could still drive. I wasn't going to walk home.
Almost makes you wonder whether to invest in U.S. bonds. You had an accident. You were driving too fast. You weren't calculating the road conditions and your speed. It cost her $1,000. You are responsible for that. The fact that she indicated to your boss that she would not bail you out, that she was afraid of what would happen because you got yourself arrested and were incarcerated as a result, really, of this accident and your own prior irresponsibility, and she told your boss the truth about you having a knife at home, that is not slander, sir. That's the truth. And that's how she felt, and she's allowed to express that. That doesn't diminish your responsibility. You owe her $1,000. Judgment for the plaintiff and your counterclaim is dismissed.
Health consultant Ann Machado is suing her former friend, community worker Denise Faulkner, for an unpaid loan to leave her husband. Denise is countersuing, claiming Ann vandalized her husband's truck.
This is case number 62 on the calendar in the matter of Machado versus Faulkner. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Ms. Machado, you and the defendant were friends, according to what I've read in the complaint, and you claim a series of loans to her while she was separated from her husband. Ms. Faulkner said that while she acknowledges that you gave her money while she was separated from her husband in the process of getting a divorce at that time, she said that they were gifts. There was never any expectation of the money being returned. In addition, she is counterclaiming because she says that during the separation, while she was separated, you vandalized a truck that was jointly owned by the defendant and her husband. So that's her counterclaim. How long do you know each other?
Probably about 20 years.
When did she separate from her husband?
June of last year.
And when was the first loan, and for what?
I told her years before I'd recognized that there was something wrong in the relationship and asked Denise verbally, did Mike
I
ever
can't
hurt?
hear you.
I'm sorry. I'm nervous.
Don't be nervous. I only eat litigants on Thursday, and today is not a
Thank you,
Thursday,
Judge.
I don't think. Go ahead.
I had met Mike, and I witnessed his behavior, and it wasn't appropriate, the way he talked to his wife or his children. And I asked Denise, on the side, did he ever hurt her or abuse her? And she denied it at the time, no. But my incentive intuition said that she was not being honest. In the years after that, I'd witnessed him being verbally abusive to his children. I told Mike, face to face, I said, if you're not careful, your children are going to learn to be afraid of you. And he looked at me dead in the eye and said, I like it like that. And
what kind of verbal abuse? What do you
very
in
verbal
front of
abuse.
you?
Oh, yes.
In front of you? Like what?
He treated his family like dogs. I mean, I talk to my dog better than he talks to his family. He shows no respect. He doesn't feel any duties to take care of the house. He's pulling in 2 jobs. And he felt that his only responsibility was to drive them to and from school, which he lives for control.
So that bothered you, but evidently for a long time she lived with it.
I couldn't do anything about it until she came to me in June last year, and I was just ecstatic that she was going to claim her life back and save herself and the kids from him.
What did she say when she came to you in June of last year?
She was under the protection of a women's haven at the time and said that Mike was being served with the divorce papers and being escorted out of the home. Soon after that, we found out that Mike had cleaned out the bank account. She had nothing to her name, so I gave her $500 just to get her going. And then her bills started bouncing. Her water, her garbage, her electricity, her house was in foreclosure. Everything was falling apart. And Mike kept calling and threatening her that she better not lose that damn house.
When was the first loan?
First loan was the attorney.
Tell me about that.
She didn't have an attorney representing her. And her kids do BMX riding, and the grandparents participate in most of that because they drive them out of state and all over everywhere. Anyway, he did all that, and she didn't want to take that privilege away, but said, that, yes, I'll give them, the grandparents, custody just to do that BMX training.
His
Yes.
parents. Go ahead.
And in the process of getting that, she realized after the custody, after she got the paperwork back from the first judgment, that she sat at my kitchen table and just cried. She said the light bulb finally came on that she gave 50% of her custody rights away to the grandparents, and she just was devastated she, as her mother, or their mother, would do that.
Okay. Tell me about the attorney and the loan.
Okay, before I got the attorney, I told Denise we needed to get somebody representing us. I can't afford to just front the money. But you need to fight. You've got the nerve to leave him now. The time is the essence. She didn't have the money. I loaned her the money, and it was supposed to be paid back through the sale of her house.
So the house was going to be sold?
Yes.
Eventually?
Eventually. As soon as we got the house in foreclosure, it was 3 months behind. The paperwork was already in. I stopped it from going into foreclosure, but before I did any of that, I told Denise, I said, you can't afford to keep it. If I pay it off and it's bank-owned, that money's lost. You have to sell the house.
How much did you give her for the attorney?
$2,000.
And how much did you give her in order to prevent the house from going into foreclosure?
$3,133.
Did she give you $2,000 for the attorney? I'm just asking you the amount of money that exchanged.
I don't know what the amount was. She's the one that always dealt with the attorney.
Okay. And did she make up the payments on the house in the amount of $3,133?
Not that I'm aware of.
Can I see proof of payments, please, both to the attorney and... Shh! You say you don't know. I have to see proof.
These are the canceled...
Right?
These are the canceled checks for the attorney.
What about the bank money for the house?
Since it was through... I called and paid it on my Visa. And this is how it came out. I didn't give him check numbers, but yet it still comes out as check numbers on my bank statement.
Okay. There came a time, according to your complaint, that you found out that Miss Faulkner had reconciled with her husband. When was that?
It was the end of January. Denise wouldn't even get on the phone with me. She was afraid that the house was bugged or that Mike was listening somehow, and that she would be reprimanded for it.
When did you have the first discussion with her about reimbursing you for this money?
We didn't. I got a hold of her finally on the phone by April 1st at her work, and she couldn't talk. She said she'd meet with me the next day at 11 o'clock, and she never showed up, and I couldn't get a hold of her after that.
What is that on?
This I bought for Denise to get Mike's true person on tape, his verbal abuse, and I gave this to her for protection so that we'd have something to follow through with our attorney. You know, something to back up this true person, because he puts on a good cover, but...
All right, Miss Faulkner, when did you separate from your husband?
July of 2003.
Why?
We were having some problems. I was working 2 jobs, and he was laid off at that time, so we were having financial problems.
Well, people who have financial problems usually don't separate. Did you at any time go to the plaintiff and tell her that you were under the protection of any organization that assists people who are the victims of domestic violence?
No, I was never at
Were
the
you
hearing.
ever?
No.
Did you ever go to the courts to seek an order of protection?
No.
Really? No police ever came?
Yes,
I
got a
want
restraining
you
order.
to listen to my words very carefully, madam.
Okay.
And before you say no, 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 whatever dealings you have with the courts are very easy for me to ascertain. Do you
Okay.
understand what I'm
Yes, I
saying to
do.
you?
Yes, I do.
Very easy. It's a phone call. It was my business for 25 years. So when I ask you a question, you'll give me a truthful answer.
Okay.
And in this proceeding, I don't give a rat's behind about what your relationship is with your husband. Do we understand each other?
Yes, ma'am.
Good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She helped
Yes,
you
she did.
survive
Yes, she did.
when your husband was sitting
But I
on his
was
fat
working
behind
two jobs.
doing nothing. So far, did I wrap that up in a ball pretty right?
No, didn't.
Say nothing. I got you. I've gotten you for 25 years. I've never met you before, sir, but I got you.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Ann Machado says former friend Denise Faulkner owes for a loan to leave her husband, Mike. Ann claims Mike was abusing Denise and their kids.
Now, did you ever seek the protection of the courts in separating from your husband?
Yes, I did.
And did you tell the courts when you sought that protection that your husband had been abusive to you?
Yes.
And how long have you and your husband been married?
19 years in July.
And how long did you maintain that order of protection in place?
It was good for 30 days, I believe.
Did you extend it beyond the 30 days?
No, I did not.
Why not?
Because we...
No, don't look over there. Don't look over there. Don't look up here. Look here.
Because we were working things out. He obtained an attorney, and I didn't need any protection. He was staying away, and we were fine.
You were working things out in order to get a divorce. He had maintained, he had retained an attorney. At that time, did you have an attorney?
No, ma'am.
You didn't have an attorney because you couldn't afford an attorney.
Yes.
Let's be very careful what you say to me. I'm not looking at him yet. I'll get to him in a minute.
Okay.
Good. Now, did there come a time when you went to the plaintiff's home after you consented to either a temporary or a final custody order which gave away 50% or a substantial part of the custody of your children to their grandparents? The answer is yes or no.
Yes.
And did you, in fact, have a court proceeding where you consented to the grandparents having a substantial portion of time with the children?
I believe so. I didn't understand the paperwork. That's why she was helping me.
Good. So you didn't understand what was going on?
Yes.
That's in court.
Yes.
And your husband at that time, put your papers down, and your husband at that time had an attorney. And you did not?
No, ma'am.
So you were grateful when the plaintiff volunteered to, let us say, give you money for an attorney.
I was overwhelmed.
You were
couldn't believe
overwhelmed.
that she wanted to help me out like that.
Well, you were desperate. Would you say desperate is a better word?
Yes.
Yes. Then there came a time, I assume, that you fell behind in mortgage payments. Is that right?
Yes.
And at that time, in July, August, and September, I want you to listen to my question very carefully, because we're not talking about 10 years ago. We're talking about less than a year ago. July, August, and September. How much money was your husband giving you to support your 4 children?
None.
Not you. You were working.
Oh, in September, he started making payments to me because he finally got a job.
Well, what was he doing in July and August?
I don't know. We didn't have contact.
He was eating.
He was living with his parents.
What kind of work does he do?
He's a diesel mechanic.
So he can work at anything. He's a healthy man, can work construction, can drive a taxi,
Yes,
he can
ma'am.
pick up cans in the street. He could do something to earn money, right? When you have 4 children, that's what you do. You don't sit in your parents' house and watch TV for 3 months without giving your children money to live on, right?
Correct.
But he did. Nothing. She helped you, right?
Yes, she obtained a lawyer for me.
She helped
Yes,
you
she did.
survive.
Yes, she did.
When your husband was sitting
But I
on his
was
fat
working
behind
2 jobs.
doing nothing.
I was working
You were
2
working
jobs.
2
I was-
jobs. You
I
were
was
working.
doing
Listen to
fine.
me. You
I was
were-
making
listen,
mortgage payments.
Listen to me. You were working 2 jobs to support yourself and your 4 children, and you still, according to you, fell behind in your mortgage payments. According to you, and you still didn't have money for an attorney. Your husband, on his fat behind, was sitting at his parents' house. He had money for an attorney. He retained an attorney. He didn't give you money, but he had money to give a lawyer, and he allowed the house to fall behind in its mortgage payments. So far, did I wrap that up in a ball pretty right?
That's correct.
Good.
No, didn't.
Say nothing. I got you. I've gotten you for 25 years. I've never met you before, sir, but I got you.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Ann Machado says former friend Denise Faulkner owes for a loan to leave her abusive husband.
The husband who couldn't afford to give you a dime in June, July, and August found the money to retain a lawyer, right?
Correct.
And the only one who helped you at that time is your friend.
Yes.
Is that
ma'am.
right?
Yes, ma'am.
Who is not related to you by blood, right?
No.
Do you have a family?
I'm married. I've been married for 10 years. I have 2 kids, 5 and 9.
Right. Do you live on a trust fund?
No.
No. Do you work?
I'm a stay-at-home mom right now until my
So-
daughter goes to school.
So the money that you gave her was really family money, money that was earned by your husband outside the home.
And money
right?
we've saved for years.
And money you've saved. You got it, Miss Faulkner?
Yes, I do.
You know where your friends are?
Yes, I do, ma'am.
Okay, good. Is your husband working now?
Yes, he is.
When did you reconcile with him?
January 26th of 2004.
Now, I'd like to know the discussion that you had with your husband about repaying the plaintiff for the $3,133 that she laid out to bring your mortgage payments and your other utilities current. What discussion, if any, did you have with your husband?
We didn't discuss it because it was a gift.
No. No, listen to me. You never had that discussion
No,
with
we
Prince
didn't.
Charming?
No.
No. Is that because you're afraid of him?
No, ma'am.
Really? Mm-hmm. Good. Because I tell you something, I'm not afraid of him. I eat him up for breakfast.
Okay.
You're never supposed to live with a person that you're afraid of, Ms. Faulkner. You understand what I'm saying?
I understand completely.
If you live with somebody that you're afraid of with cause, then you're a fool. And you're a bad mother. Because if you live with somebody who's a bully and intimidating, that's what your children see. I don't live in your house, but I assume that you're not a nut.
No, I am not. I'm very balanced.
Well, if you're very balanced, and
great
finally, after 19 years, you decided that you had had enough and sought the protection of the court and said that your husband was abusive and you needed an order of protection, I assume you weren't lying. So all I'm telling you is nobody is supposed to live with somebody that is abusive or frightening.
Yes.
We understand each other?
Yes.
You owe her the money. Now, you want to tell me about this vandalizing of the family truck. You want to get into that with me?
My husband would.
Oh, I'd love to hear from him.
Okay.
Vandalizing the truck. Let me hear. When?
Approximately in October.
October, approximately October.
Yes,
October
ma'am.
has 31 days.
I don't have the police report on that part on me. I have the
You don't have
pictures.
what?
I have evidence proving of situations that were coming up before the actual damage to the truck happened.
I don't. Listen to me.
Okay.
Give me a date that your truck was vandalized and what proof that you have, non-hearsay proof that the plaintiff had any dealings with your truck.
Well, ma'am, how about that?
How about giving me the date that your truck was vandalized?
October 19th.
October 19th.
Yes, ma'am.
2003.
Yes, ma'am.
Where was your truck vandalized on October 19th?
It was parked in the front of my father and them's house, ma'am.
It was parked in front of?
My father and them's house.
Oh. What time had it been parked there?
Overnight, ma'am. I get off work, and I'm home about 12:30 at night.
And what kind of damage was done to the truck?
I have pictures here, ma'am.
I'd like to take a look at them.
There's also events leading up to that, ma'am.
Listen to me very, very carefully, sir.
Okay.
This is my space.
Yes, ma'am.
You will answer my questions.
Yes, ma'am.
In a very tight, controlled way.
Okay.
Somebody threw acid on your truck.
Yes,
some
ma'am.
sort of acid on your truck.
Yes, ma'am.
And I see damaged it severely.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. October 19th, 2003.
Okay.
First, let's have the police report.
I don't have that. Like I said, I left that at home, and that can be gotten if it needs to be called for. Yes,
Is there
ma'am.
something wrong with you? Where
No,
did you
ma'am,
think
there's
you were
not.
coming today, sir? If you have a police report from October 19th, when you reported this to the police and you left it at home, that's the only thing that I'm going to see. That's an official document. Other than that, do you have a witness who saw her vandalizing your truck?
No, ma'am, I don't.
Good.
Please
That's all I have- That's all I have to hear, sir. Do you have a witness who saw
No,
her
ma'am.
vandalizing your truck? Do you have a confession that she made to the police of her vandalizing your truck?
No, ma'am.
Your counterclaim's dismissed. Sit down.
Ma'am, okay. Do you have
Good.
anything that shows
Did you
as
hear
far
what I
as her
said?
abuse to her,
Did
though?
you hear what I said?
Yes, ma'am, I sure did. But
Good.
did
Then
you
I
see
want
this
you
right
to
here?
close your mouth.
Okay, without
You
proof,
owe her
you don't want this.
$5,000. Judgment for the plaintiff. Your counterclaim is dismissed. That's all. No good deed goes unpunished, madam.
Parties are excused. Step up.
Finance company manager Daniel Cruz is suing his ex-fiancée, Shannon Kelly, for unpaid loans and for damaging his car in a drunken rage.
Yeah, it's case number 88 on the calendar in the matter of Cruz versus Kelly. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
Mr. Cruz, Miss Kelly was your former fiancée.
That is correct, Your Honor.
And according to your complaint, you believe that she owes you some money for some loans that were made a year ago by you.
Yes, ma'am.
And also, more recently, that she had a hissy fit about something and threw a potted plant at your car, causing some damage.
Yes.
Ms. Kelly says that while you were generous to her over the course of your relationship, there were never any loans, and she has no clue as to what you're talking about with regard to damaging your car. Who is this person, Miss Kelly?
This is my boyfriend now.
Does he have any particular knowledge of this case?
He does. He
About
was, basically, when we had broken off the engagement, Dan had become very upset with the whole thing, and he'd come to my house making threats, trying to get into my house, and he was there. And
well, that has nothing to do with this case.
Right. So basically,
basically, he's just here as eye candy.
Whatever.
What's the matter? Isn't that right?
Eye candy.
All right. When were you and Miss Kelly engaged?
We were engaged on January 5th, 2004.
For how long?
We were engaged until February 20th of 2004.
And when were these loans, Mr. Cruz?
Loans were done at various times throughout the relationship.
Mr. Cruz, let's get to the biggies.
Sure.
Let's try this. Nothing under $100. I have a $100 threshold that I'm going to hit, sir.
I can guarantee there's nothing under $100, Your Honor.
Perfect.
Okay.
Give me the date and give me what it was for.
Okay. The first one, Your Honor, was for rent that I paid for in May of 2003.
And how much was that,
That was
sir?
for $400.
Tell me the conversation that took place.
The conversation?
Yes.
Okay. I asked her, I said, do you have the money for the rent? And she said she did not have the money for the rent. And she asked if I could front it for her. I said, sure, I'd be willing to do that, but you're going to have to pay me back.
Okay. Now, do you remember that May of 2003?
I did not receive my check through the mail yet, and he did propose to, like, not lend me the money, but to pay for my portion of it.
Okay. Miss Kelly, let's stop there. You say your check didn't come in the mail.
Right.
What check are we talking about?
My disability check.
How much did you get from disability?
I get about $1,000 a month.
What's the nature of your disability?
Mentally have stress, a lot of stress. Basically, I was fired from a previous job for sexual harassment, and from that, it caused me a lot of damage. And so I went to see, I was going to fight against them and sue them.
All right, so you received Social Security disability. Do you still?
Actually, no. As of a few weeks ago, no.
Now, your check hadn't arrived yet. So you must have said to Mr. Cruz, my check hasn't come yet. My check hasn't come yet. Can you front the money for me?
I don't even think I went as far as asking him that. It was, you know, he paid for a lot of things for me.
No, I don't want to hear a lot of things. Listen, I'm a very organized person. We're talking about May of 2003 and your rent. And your rent. So if you were accustomed to paying your rent out of your disability check and your check was late, the common sense would be, can you pay the rent, and when my check comes, I'll give it back to you. That's common sense. I mean, that's what one would think of what was said.
Correct.
Right. And you paid the $400, your share of the rent. Did you ever get your check?
Yeah.
Did you give him back the $400?
I've tried, and he would not accept it because he said that he didn't want it.
Okay. Now, when was the next loan you made to her, sir?
December of 2003. I loaned her money for a couple of sets of car repairs, actually. First repair was December 18th of 2003. That was for $227.
Right.
The other one was December 20th, 2003. That was for $180.
Any other loans, sir?
In January 2004, there was money that I loaned her for medical expenses. I had gotten back from a cruise, okay, so I took her to the urgent care. The cost for that was $237. She did not have the money to pay it. I told her once again I would loan her the money for the $237, but then she'd have to pay me back for that as well.
And those are the loans you're talking about?
There's also one more loan. I'm sorry, I neglected to bring it up. It was in August of 2003. It was also for repairs for her car, okay, and that was for $281.68.
And you want to tell me about the damage to your car, sir?
January 19, 2004, I was on my way to work. First Monday back from the cruise. On the way to work, I was rear-ended by a lady. At the time, the car was still drivable, okay, but I knew I was going to have to take it into the shop, but knowing that it was going to be in there for at least a week or so, I didn't take it right away. January 23rd, she and I had an argument. She got upset with me. She went outside. My car was parked in front of her house. She took a potted plant. She broke it on my car. Now, I had made an insurance claim on the damage that the other lady caused me. However, I didn't make an insurance claim on what she had caused because I didn't want there to be any type of legal recourse against her as far as
you were
criminal.
engaged.
Right.
And you stayed engaged for another month.
That's correct.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She looked at it, she said, I'm sorry. She said, but you are lucky. I meant to put it through your windshield. I don't have pictures, but I do have the pieces of the pot that she broke on it.
You think that I'm going to look at the pieces of the pot without pictures of the car? Mr. Cruz.
And later today.
What kind of car do you drive, sir?
88 Olds Delta.
And one of your wheels fell off, is that right?
I had just put them on and I was driving around the block. And I went to go hit my brakes and then the wheel just came off.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Daniel Cruz says ex-fiancée Shannon Kelly owes for unpaid loans and for smashing a potted plant on top of his car.
Okay, let's hear about the potted plant, madam.
I don't know what he's talking about, actually. We fought all the time.
So you mean he's making this story up?
Or if somebody else did it, I don't. He never I mean.
No.
I don't know what he's.
All right. Anything else you want to tell me?
Yes, that this is not true. With the car repairs, he called me and said that he had a surprise for me, that he had recovered some funds that he wasn't aware of, and that he wanted to get my car out. And I said no, I didn't want to. I'd rather pay for it myself, and he insisted. Okay, he decided to do that. When I did get my check, again, I did give him back $200 because I didn't want anything from him.
Why didn't you want anything from him?
Because he would use it against me and throw it up to me and make me feel terrible in fights.
What kind of work do you do, sir?
I'm a branch manager for a finance company.
Are you currently employed, Miss Kelly?
No.
And how do you support yourself? On disability?
I was up until recently, so now I'm going to find a job.
Do you live with this gentleman here?
Yes, I do.
Do you work?
Yes.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a carpenter.
Okay. Here's your problem, Mr. Cruz. Of the 5 loans that you've made to her over the course of a 6 or 7 month period, she had not made any payments. Is that right?
That is correct.
That's not a loan. That's what you give to your girlfriend. I find that it's unreasonable to believe that if, in fact, this engagement came to fruition and developed into a marriage, that we wouldn't be standing here today. Right?
Well, that's...
Not
necessarily.
Well, not necessarily. I'm telling you that if you and Miss Kelly married, we would not be standing here today. You're angry. She didn't give you a lot of money. You gave her a lot of money. I mean, altogether, it doesn't amount to a whole lot of money over the course of a relationship that spanned a couple of years. But those aren't loans. Loans get repaid. Even marginally, they get repaid. And anybody who's... You're in finance?
Yes.
Doesn't loan more money when the first loan hasn't been paid, and doesn't loan money for a third time when the first 2 loans haven't been paid, and doesn't loan money for the 4th time when the first 3 loans haven't been paid. Because if you do that, you're soon going to be out of business, unless you're operating from your heart, because you're involved in a relationship. And then it no longer becomes an arm's length contract. It becomes a situation where, well, if the relationship works out, it's over. But if it doesn't, I don't want to be out this money. So, Mr. Cruz, get over it. Let me see pictures of the car where she dropped the potted plant. What's in that box?
Unfortunately, Your Honor, I don't have pictures, okay? And the reason being for that is because she called me the next day. And she apologized to me for doing it. And when I went to her house, I showed her what she had done to the car. She didn't realize it. And she looked at it, she said, "I'm sorry." She said, "But you are lucky. I meant to put it through your windshield." And I said, "Well, if you put it through the windshield, it probably would have cost less." I don't have pictures, but I do have the pieces of the pot that she broke on it. That's what's in the box.
You think, sir, that I'm going to look at the pieces of the pot without pictures of the car? Mr. Cruz.
Yes.
And she called you up and she apologized. Let me ask you this question, Mr. Cruz. Between the 23rd of January, when she caused this damage to your car, is that what you told me?
Yes.
Okay. And February 20th of 2004, you were in fact engaged. Is that right?
Yes.
Were you intimate during that period?
Yes.
You forgave her.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today...
When you have no money in the bank, you have to be an idiot to spend $900 on wheels for an old car.
You can say that.
I am saying that. What I want to hear is you saying it.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Daniel Cruz says ex-fiancée Shannon Kelly owes for unpaid loans and for smashing a potted plant on top of his car.
You forgave her, sir. She feels as if you forgave her. I feel as if you forgave her. You got to put a period and say, I'm moving on. And whatever money it was, it's a cheap lesson. And I'm very, very lucky that I didn't hook my wagon to this star, which would have caused you in the long run in your life, Mr. Cruz, far greater damage. You could have done the absolutely unthinkable and stupid thing to have married this lady.
True.
Right?
That's true.
Instead, this gentleman's going to marry her. It's going to be his problem.
Let him deal with it.
Right? Right.
Yeah, let him deal with it.
That's all. Good luck, sir.
Yep.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She's getting hers now. I mean, you can see with what she's with and what she's doing now, which is nothing, and what she'll always become in her life is nothing.
Basically, he just wants to, demolish whatever life that I do have.
She was cheating on me with the gentleman she brought in the courtroom today.
He was tried to commit suicide a couple times over me. He even was put into the hospital for 4 days in the mental institution for throwing me across the room and bruising my tailbone.
Look out for freeloaders like this one over here. She's going to cost you a lot of money, cost you a lot of heartache, and she laughs over here, but I'm going to get the last laugh when I see what her life has become.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Leiferman versus Lux. Step forward, please.
26-year-old homemaker Angela Leiferman is suing motorist 19-year-old Stanley Lux for car repair costs. Angela says she was hit by a wheel that fell off Stanley's vehicle.
Bird, you remember elementary school? You know what we used to call that in elementary school? A visual aid.
That's right.
So this is a visual aid, and what I gather from your complaint is you were parked where?
Number 3.
And what were you doing on 108th Street?
I was driving to my mom's house.
Were you driving or were you parked?
This is a stoplight, and I was stopped at a red light.
And according to what I read in your complaint, your car got hit with a wheel, car wheel.
Right.
You can step back now. And that wheel belonged to a car that belonged to the defendant.
Yep.
And you want him to pay for the damage because his wheel came off.
Exactly.
Is that easy?
Right.
Right. Can I see the damage to your car?
Okay.
Were you frightened when it banged into your car?
Extremely. My 3-month-old son was in the vehicle with me, so I was nervous.
Okay, Mr. Lux?
Yep.
What kind of car do you drive, sir?
A 88 Olds Delta.
And one of your wheels fell off, is that right?
Yes.
Had you just put these wheels on?
Yes.
Did you put them on?
Yes.
Yourself?
Myself.
So I would like you to tell me, and Officer Bird would like to know why you're not responsible for the damage to her car.
Okay. First off, where she was parked, I got pictures. She was parked in a turning lane. It wasn't a light nowhere near. The light was up further. So I know she wasn't parked at a light.
Okay,
you know?
So the first thing that you say, and I read your answer, is that she was parked in a place she shouldn't have been.
She shouldn't have been parked.
Okay. And what's your second defense, Mr. Lux?
And then, I mean, she just wasn't supposed to. I mean, she was parked. I mean, from my understanding, you know what I'm saying? Because I didn't even know, you know what I'm saying, that their wheel was going to fall off. Just like naturally, anybody wouldn't know that their wheel was going to fall off. I had just put them on and I was driving around the block, just around the corner, just to make sure that they was on right. And in the process, I was riding down the hill and I went to go hit my brakes and then the wheel just came off.
So let me try to see if I can translate this into a language that we all commonly understand. That he had put the wheels on his car and he was driving around to see if he had put them on good.
Yeah.
Or well.
All the
Good.
way.
No, correct. I said that we all commonly understand.
I get you.
And you didn't put them on.
Well.
Because one of them fell
off.
So I guess that answered your question.
Yeah.
I still don't understand how that is a defense, sir, except that you were doing a test run to see if you had done a good job, and you did a bad
job.
Mr. Lux, you don't look like a bad young man. Do you work?
Yes.
What kind of work do you do, sir?
Inventory.
And did you pay a lot of money for these wheels?
Yes.
How much did you pay for them?
Roughly around $800 or $900.
And who do you live with, sir?
Right now, I stay with my grandmother.
Do you pay her rent?
No.
Do you have a bank account?
Yes.
How much money do you have in the bank account?
Not that much, Your Honor.
Okay. Let's talk about priorities. You know what that means?
Yes.
When you have no money in the bank and you're living off somebody else, like you're living off of your grandmother, and you have a job, you have to be an idiot to spend $900 on wheels for an old car.
You can say that.
I am saying that. What I want to hear is you say that.
I mean, is it...
No, I really want to hear you say that.
But I don't feel
really
like
want to
though.
hear you say, if I had a spare $900, I would give it to my grandmother. give her $200 a month to say, Grandma, I know I'm a growing boy, I eat a lot, you know, and I use the phone, and I use gas and electric, and I want to contribute to the household, because that's what grown-ups do. Grown-ups don't live off other people and then spend $900 on rims for an old car.
Well, I really wasn't, you know what I'm saying, staying with her. Matter of fact, what was this, March 31st?
Right.
Yeah, well, I was staying with her at the point in time, you know what I'm saying, in March and stuff. But before, prior to that, I did have my own place, and I was paying my own bills, you know what I'm saying? And it got rough for me then because I had lost my job. So I did have to move.
Where'd you get the $900 for the wheels?
I say it was in my account. That's what I do. I save my money. But you know what I'm saying, because that's something I deserve that I should. I wanted.
You wanted it.
That's what I wanted.
You wanted it even more than you wanted to pay rent.
So to me, rent is irrelevant. You know what I'm saying? What does rent have to do with that?
Rent is irrelevant. I got it. I understand.
What does rent have to do with
I understand
rent?
that. Mr. Lux, let me explain something to you. I'm going to put you out of your misery, sir. You had an accident with your car. Your car, because of your negligence in putting on these wheels improperly, fell off and damaged the plaintiff's car to the tune of $944. That's what you have to pay. $944. Whether she was parked in a no parking zone, whether she was parked halfway to Pluto, it's irrelevant. Your car caused her car damage because of your negligence. You have to pay for that.
I understand it.
Perfect. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $944.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Assalamualaikum guys. जैसा कि आप जानते हैं मैं हूँ कौन मैंने आप नहीं पता मैं कौन वाले खच्चो नक 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 एक ने क्या मैं आज ध्यान करा बड़ा नहीं भाई ਐਵੇਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਭਾਈ ਦੀ ਇਹ ਘਾਟੇ ਵੱਜ ਜਾਏਗੀ ਇਹ ਸਾਡੇ ਹਾਈ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਹਰੇ ਹਾਈ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਮੂੰਹ ਆਇਆ ਜੇ ਹਾਈ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਮੂੰਹ ਆਇਆ ਜੀ ਸਲੋ ਬਣਾ ਚਿਸ਼ਤੀ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਮੂੰਹ ਆਇਆ ਜੀ ਦਿਖਾਇਆ ਵੱਧ ਤੇ ਐ ਸਾਡੇ ਚਿਸ਼ਤੀ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਦਫਨਾਨ ਲੱਗਾ ਵੇਖ ਲਿਆ ਇਹ ਮੂੰਹ ਕੀ ਬਾਲ ਕੇ ਚਿਸ਼ਤੀ ਨੂੰ ਆ ਰਿਹਾ ਵੀਡੀਓ ਉਸਤਾਦ ਜੀ ਅੱਗੇ ਧਿਆਨ ਦਿਓ ਬਸ ਅੱਗੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਣਾ ਇੱਥੇ ਤੱਕ ਹੀ ਰਹਿਣਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਅੱਗੇ ਧਿਆਨ ਤੁੰਨੀ ਤੋਂ ਅੱਗੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਣਾ ਭਾਈ ਤੁੰਨੀ ਤੋਂ ਅੱਗੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਣਾ ਵਾਲਿਆਂ ਦਾ ਕੰਮ ਜਾਰੀ ਹੈ ਹਾਂਜੀ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਆਪ ਬਣਵਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਵਾਂ ਆਪ ਬਣਵਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਬਾਅਦ ਚ ਕਰਨਾ ਮਿਸਤਰੀਆਂ ਨਾਲ ਦਿਹਾੜੀ ਵੀ ਲਾਣੀ ਹੈ ਹਾਂਜੀ ਕਰਨਾ ਵੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਨਾਲ ਆਪਣਾ ਕੰਮ ਵੀ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਹਾਂਜੀ ਕਿਉਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਚਲੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਅੱਗੇ ਧਿਆਨ ਕਰੋ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਡਰ ਹੈ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਹੋਰ ਕਿਸੇ ਚੀਜ਼ ਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਡਰ ਤਾਂ ਹੋਣਾ ਘਰ ਤੋਂ ਹੀ ਲਾ ਲਿਆ ਹਾਂਜੀ ਹੁਣ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਏ ਆਪਣੇ ਘਰ ਲਿਸਟ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਜਾਣੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਹਾਂਜੀ ਬੰਦ ਨਾਲ ਲਾਣੇ ਚਲੋ ਲਿਸਟ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਲਿਸਟ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆ ਕੇ ਬਾਕੀ ਅਗਲੀ ਵੀਡੀਓ ਲਿਸਟ ਤੇ ਚਲੋ ਘਰਦਿਆਂ ਭੇਜ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਹੁਣ ਅਸੀਂ ਵਾਪਸ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਵਾਪਸ ਦਫਾ ਹੋ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਤੇ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਵੀ ਲਾਣੇ ਨੇ ਇਹਦਾ ਨੱਕ ਵੇਖੋ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸੱਤਾ ਘਰਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਹੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਬੜਾ ਸੋਹਣਾ ਅੱਧਾ ਘਰਾਂ ਦੀ ਹੋਏਗੀ ਹਾਂਜੀ ਆ ਵੇਖੋ ਉਹ ਲਾ ਕੇ ਮਜ਼ਦੂਰਾਂ ਦਿਹਾੜੀ ਵੀ ਲਾਉਣੀ ਤੇ ਇਸੇ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਫਿਰ ਨਾਲ ਦਿਹਾੜੀ ਵੀ ਲਾਉਣੀ ਅੱਛਾ ਭਾਈ ਇਹ ਸਾਡਾ ਇੱਕ ਚੈਨਲ ਹੈ ਬੜਾ ਸੋਹਣਾ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦਾ ਯਾਰ ਮਲਕ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਚੱਲੇ ਓਏ ਕਾਹ ਮਲਕ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਕਿਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਛੇੜ ਹਾਂ ਚਾਚਾ ਕੀ ਹਾਲ ਜੀ ਚੱਲ ਜਾਣ ਦੇ ਤੇ ਇਹ ਵੇਖੋ ਮੇਰੇ ਯਾਰ ਮਲਕ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦਾ ਮੂੰਹ ਦੇਖੋ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਕੁਛ ਛੱਡ ਦਿਓ ਬਾਅਦ ਹਮਲਾ ਬਈ ਧਿਆਨ ਨਾਲ ਲਾਇਆ ਜੇ ਧਿਆਨ ਮਾਮਾ ਲਾ ਮੈਂ ਆਪ ਤੇ ਆਵਾਂਗਾ ਭਾਈ ਕੀ ਹਾਲ ਏ ਚੱਲ ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਆ ਭਾਈ ਡੰਗਰ ਨੇ ਭਾਈ ਆ ਮਗਰ ਨੇ ਡੰਗਰ ਆਖਿਆ ਤੇ ਟਰਾਲੀ ਆਲੂ ਬਿਜਲੀ ਮਾਰਦਾ ਇਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਐਸ ਰੋਡ ਟਰਾਲੀਆਂ ਵੀ ਬੜੀਆਂ ਜਾਂਦੀਆਂ ਦੋ ਟਰਾਲੀਆਂ ਇਕੱਠੀਆਂ हाँ ट्रालियां कट्टियां जाती हैं दो ही नहीं जैसा कि आप जानते हैं ये तुम्हारा भाई है ना सर और मैं पता नहीं कौन दिन तो तेरे काम नहीं जानते और पता जानते नहीं है बस जैसा कि आप जानते हैं बेटे पिछले का हाँ साहब अली मगर अक्षर बेटे ने पर लिया आगे साथ के नाल देखिए कौन क्या और नहीं कितना बराबर और नहीं आया भाई फिर किधर है तक कुछ ही नहीं जान तो मगर साहब तो ये राशि चलना है आप नापा जाके नाम लाइए ते बाकी लोग ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨਾ ਉਹ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਬਾਅਦ ਹਾਂ ਬਾਅਦ 2 ਪਾਰਟ 2 ਹੈ ਜਲਦੀ ਪਾਰਟ 2 ਆਏਗਾ ਸਾਡਾ ਤੇ इंशाल्लाह भाई मौसम अपने पता है फारग होए ना कि नहीं हाँ अभी नहीं हुए अभी वो कटिंग बना रहे हैं कटिंग करवा रहे हैं इसके साथ बाद में शेविंग करवाएंगे साथ रेत बैठे हैं अपने हाफिज ही है हाँ सामने ने अपने हेलो दुकान उस्ताद जी से